What's up, betas? How are y'all doing tonight? Sorry for the late start. Better late than never, right? What does it say? What does the Gandalf say about wizards and being on time or something? Whatever it is that makes it not my fault, insert whatever phrase it is there. What's going on, everybody? Rough Rider 86 coming in with the first. What's going on? Beta Midnight Monarchy. Appreciate that. It affected, I would say it affected her mom more than anything. I felt bad for her mom, because that's gonna be, new family she's marrying into and all that. So she was really upset that it went down like that, But I appreciate that. Appreciate the love. Hope everybody's doing okay today. Today is Wednesday, and we'll call this the Nerds of Culture Eve. Every stream that happens on Wednesday will be Nerds of Culture Eve, and that's exciting. That's exciting because tomorrow we're gonna get it in. Odin's Day. That's right. For tomorrow's Odin's Day, right? The midweek roundup. That's a good idea. Nerds of Culture. Yeah, we're gonna write that down. I really like that idea. The midweek roundup. So what would we put in the midweek roundup? That's a good idea. I'm looking for like themes to do once a day. You know what I mean? Because I'm not gonna lie. The way I'm gonna just let you know the process. Literally all I do when it's time to get ready for a stream is I say, what's hot today? What sounds interesting? And that's if it's not, what videos did I want to watch that I didn't get to, so I'm going to just watch it on stream. But I do like some themes. Real Rad Hom, RealRadHom. He's an Australian dude. He streams like when most of us are asleep, but I got a crazy sleep schedule, so I jump into his chat every now and then, and he'll have like, crazy whatever, right? And then like there's a certain day that they just watch like conspiracy theorists and stuff like that, flat earthers. And then Crybaby Mondays or Man Baby Mondays, that's what it is. And that's when they watch like people like Steven Crowder and all that. So midweek roundup, I like that. Just gotta flesh it out a little bit and figure out what would be a part of that. I hope everybody's doing well. Maneater 087. She's a man-eater. What's going on? Welcome from across the hallway. How's it over there? How's the weather? In our house, she has her little game room. I have my little, she has her she cave. I have my he cave. That's the joy of, so we bought a house with my, with my kids and mine, her stepkids, right? And so my son and my daughter, and then all that. But then they leave, right? They grow wings and they leave. Then like, well, what do we do with these rooms? And it's like game time. Yeah. Sig Fang, what's going on? I'll make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah. So what do we got going on today? Yeah, you saw that? You saw lasagna? Lasagna's in the room. Let me see if I could get a you can see my other cat, how he reacted. Let me see. I'm gonna send myself some videos real quick on the Discord side, and then I'll share. So like my cat and my dog Chappie, who's a little corgi, really didn't react all that crazy, but the cat's nervous, so really doesn't like Chappie because doesn't have a good experience with dogs. But other than that, I think everything is kind of kind of doing okay. It's not that bad. Not that bad at all. Let's see. We'll send that one. Send that one for the Israel segment. Send that one for the Israel segment. Ooh, that video might get me banned, but that's okay. That's okay. If I get banned, we'll just start a new channel. And then we'll start another one. And we'll start another one. But this one is gonna need to be seen. All right. Kind of like talking to myself, and so the other two videos that I sent myself are not so wholesome. Quite the opposite. Quick recap moment for things you didn't get to say, everything you wanted, perhaps speaking on some things you didn't get to touch on. But that's a good idea. That's a good idea. I like that. I like that. Here, let's download this video, and then download this video. I think that's the one we want right there. Yeah, that's it. All right, so this is this one right here is in the it's in the she cave where the man eater layer is. let me take this title off real quick. So lasagna's down here in the bottom. Cloud, the old man here, has already like smelled the cat. The cat's been in there for about a couple hours, and it decided to bring Cloud in just to see how they interact. They didn't go crazy and hiss and all that stuff. And then so my son is off to the side with a blanket, like just in case they start fighting, and I don't want him to get all slashed up. So he had a blanket ready to grab one if he needed to. Be ready in case something stupid happens. Oh, okay. Yep. No. Cloud's like, just so you know, this is my house, bitch. All right. You're getting way too comfortable. All right. This is my couch. You smell this here? You smell this? This is mine. And he had to let him know. You know what I mean? This is, it is what it is. Yep, Baby Yoda's in there. Don't judge my couch sheet. It's because I have animals and ways in my. I remember when you bought that too. It's like, oh look, you can just wrap it. And you know what's funny about those things? You saw the way it looked there, right? You saw that video. Hold on. Just in case you saw that, right? What does that look like to y'all? That looks like a big ass sheet that you just kind of tuck around, like my y'all's grandmas would do. My grandma would do. But on the Instagram ad, it was like, floop, and you just put it in there, and it looks like it was reupholstered, right? It just looks like it's perfect. You're like, we're gonna get that, bet. And then they're like, what the fuck is this shit? Instagram ads get you, I'll tell you. All right, we'll take that off. Good idea. I think he's talking about Black Christians versus yeah. So I mean, it was so today we're definitely gonna be going over that. We're gonna do a quick Israel Palestine recap. Fucking up. Israel's fucking up as usual. And then we're gonna get into the bulk of today's show is going to be Black atheists versus Black Christians. Like I said, I just kind of want to put out as a disclaimer, just because I don't believe in identity politics, right? I'm not the guy. I got into it on Twitter where somebody was talking about how the Black community does not have a homophobia problem, right? And I'm just like, I'm over here like, look, the Black and brown community definitely has a homophobia problem, because of the way that Christianity has a chokehold. Certain types of Christians, right? Certain types of Christians, and immediately somebody jumps on and says, "Mind your business. You're not Black. Mind your fucking business. Watch your mouth. This is not." And I'm like, okay, nope, wrong dude. I'm all about minding my business for sure, right? There are things that I don't speak on, but as somebody who grew up in the church, and I'm well aware of what Christianity is to marginalize. Well, I am like let me rephrase that. As somebody who is secure in my opinion, um, regarding what Christianity has done to our people, right? And whether some non-Hispanic African Americans want to admit it or not, there is absolutely a shared culture. When it comes to oppression, when it comes to our colonizers, when it comes to how we were, how we were, how we were built. I mean, what we are the product of regarding slavery and rape and genocide, right? However, I always make as a caveat, in the United States of America, and I would say probably most of the world, I do not try to equivocate on the where the black individual stands. Like, I do not walk through this world like a black individual does. However, if we're gonna talk about Christians versus atheists, I'm right there, front row. Nobody's kicking me out. Oh man. I could eat the pho tomorrow. I'll probably eat it out through the show. You know me and leftovers. You got to be hard with all the machismo. Exactly. There's that. There is that, right? With the toxic masculinity. I think that is definitely a factor, right? But I mean, even less. Even off that focus, we do have this whole problem with, and it's getting better, by the way. It's definitely getting better. I would say that younger millennials and maybe even older millennials. The millennials and younger are getting less and less tied into that kind of stuff, right? But when you look at my generation, right, the Gen X and older, man, nope. I saw a scene today, and y'all see this scene? Hold on, let me see something real quick. Let me see if I can find it. It's that scene in Atlanta where he's in jail and the dude is talking about his ex. And here, let me show y'all what isn't. Let me show you like the problem Black and brown communities don't have. Does anybody watch Atlanta? Because I'm definitely planning on starting it. I've started a couple times and then for whatever reason fell off, but I wanna get through it. I wanna get through it. What's that dude's name? Something Drama. Lo Tigre. What's going on? You streaming tonight? Drama alerts, right? God, dude, I hate that motherfucker who runs that thing, but I'm also addicted to drama, you know what I mean? So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? He posted somebody who was defending dating his trans girlfriend, and then people were in the comments being exactly how you expected them to be, and then somebody shared a scene from Atlanta that I was like, man, that's sad. I mean, I get it. I get the humor that Childish Gambino was going for, especially with what Childish Gambino in the video, what he says. Oh my God, dude! Rest in peace, Keemstar. Rest in peace. Oh wow, man! I can't believe so many people thought that Keemstar was dead when he announced it on April 1st. Wild. Nah, you tired? No, I feel you. Man, I can't find it. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? I'm gonna give it 2 more wheel strokes. 1, 2. All right, can't find it. Done. I cheated. You did like 3 or 4, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Nope, can't find it. All right, fine. No, I feel you. All right, last ad is snoozed. That's the last 5 minutes to put off ads. Ads will start, I think, in about 5 minutes. You know what to do if you don't want to see ads. Um, let's go ahead and get into it. I think today, because the Black Christians and Black Atheists is going to be so long, I think today we're going to skip headlines and then and we're going to get right into it. Um, Here, let's do this. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Now, you all know exactly my feelings on everything. Yeah, wall of text. Let's go. I think the cruel and we're doing it. We're doing it. Let me see what happens if I click this. Oh, look at that. It puts the, I was wondering if it was gonna do like a dot dot dot. I thought it was gonna go. All right, everybody, get comfortable. Get comfortable. I think the cruel, I'm just playing. I'm playing with Midnight Martin. I think the cruel introduction that Black people and even indigenous Americans had to Christianity shoehorned it into the generations, and the families throughout slavery upkept their faith as a pure survival mechanism to escape inquiry and slave masters and the white community after emancipation. I can't wait to hear everyone's thoughts on this. By the way, Atlanta is a great show. My white coworker was shocked at how different the lifestyle was for Black people since she herself is from Atlanta. Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? To be from Black LA. You know what I mean? That's what I call Atlanta. Atlanta's Black LA. To be in a city like Atlanta, this is the shit that people just don't understand when it comes to race. Like, can you imagine being from Atlanta and not knowing how Black people live? Isn't that wild? Like, that is how, like, the segregation that we saw, in the 60s, 50s, 40s on back, still reverberates today, right? Where, white communities are predominantly white and Black communities are predominantly Black, and people still just kind of stick to each other. That's what was hard for me, as I don't front and try to say I'm from, New York or anything, but I was born in New York and then left really quickly. I was a baby when I left New York, but all of my family is either from New York or from the island, and then, came to the mainland by way of New York, right? So New York is where all of my family is. And so growing up, the seamlessness of in my mind, Hispanics / Latinos, whatever you want to call us, and African Americans, and I say that specifically African Americans because as a way to delineate, because it's weird. I don't really have a word. If I say Black people, I mean all Black people. You know what I mean? I mean Black people. So you're Brazilian, you're a Black Brazilian, you're Black. So, and then if I say Black Americans, well, a Afro-Cubano who lives in the United States is a Black American, right? But that's, so when I'm talking, it's a way for me to like delineate. I'm talking about Black Americans who are direct descendants of the enslaved people that were brought to North America, very specifically, right? And so, growing up, watching my family and watching like people that I looked up to, there really was like one community between whether Puerto Rican, Dominican, or African Americans, right? That was because they had a shared oppression in New York. And then you take a look around at like places like Georgia or Texas or California, and then you start seeing like, wow, the rest of the United States does not have that same sort of continuity, right? Like Mexicans in Texas, in one community with Black people in Texas. Fuck no. That is not the way it goes there. Matter of fact, they have their own racist, for lack of a better term, prejudices against each other in places like that. And so it's kind of sad to see so that's kind of like what me and Chris were trying to do with Melanated Timeline, and why I was excited to be invited. I know why I was excited for to do a show with Blurred and kind of like meld those communities like that, right? Because to me, the difference is minor. It's minor and huge all at once, right? It's sad to see the way it is in the rest of the United States. Black, Hispanic, Indigenous, we should all be hand in hand against white supremacy, and it's just not that way, unfortunately. But Midnight Monarchy, to your point, absolutely, that is exactly correct. I will say, just in case I forget to say it in the when we watch the debate on Jubilee, in case I forget to say it, there is empathy, even if I don't sound like it. There is empathy with how Christianity is. You didn't really have a choice, right? You didn't have a choice, and you're right. What you said there is exactly correct. I mean, these people were sitting there, and you were killed if you didn't. A lot of times, many times, your children were taken from you, right? We see this, what was happening with the Catholic Church in Canada, right? Where with Indigenous people, where Indigenous children were ripped from their families and raised by Christians. They're playing the long game. They're Christians playing the long game, and then they get to indoctrinate these people. They did it the same exact thing to the Aboriginal Australians. If you guys watch the movie Nightingale, you will never hear me bring up Nightingale without me also saying what a phenomenal movie. You would think, the way I talk about it, it must be some sort of like, oh, it's about the colonial Australian times and how. Nope, it's a revenge story. It's about a woman whose husband is murdered, and then she's assaulted, and she loses her baby, and she just wants revenge. But you're watching this revenge movie and also learning about some shit that you don't ever hear about in the United States. You know what I mean? Like, we hear about our shit here. And I'm telling you, I need every black and brown person to watch movies that highlight the colonial impacts on Aboriginal Australians, on India, on Pakistan, on Indigenous people in Canada, on Black and Indigenous people in South America, Central America. And when we start talking about the global South, it is insane to me how we are not, the world power. The way that they have split and placed flags. Do you know that Pakistan and India, on those borders, they fucking hate each other? They hate each other. And they are from the same people. The British Empire just put a fake line down and said, you guys go here, you guys go here. All right, you guys good? Dope. Same people. Cubans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, same people, right? The three make up the three parts of a Latin American is going to be part enslaved, right? From the enslaved people, part enslaved people, part indigenous people, part European, right? From your colonizer. And in South America and the Caribbean, that's typically Spain and Portugal, with some French put in there, with Haiti and some other things, right? But the big players in Hispaniola in Latin America is going to be Spain and Portugal, right? Now, if we know that, understand that when it comes to other Latin American nations, the differences between us, right? When we look at other Latin American nations, they're all going to have the enslaved people from West Africa, right? They're all going to have either the Spanish or the Portugal colonizer. It's that third indigenous part that kind of gives them the tweak in their culture, right? Where you have people that are influenced by the Mayans or the Aztecs or the Incans or whatever, maybe, you know, smaller indigenous people that had different features or different languages. So their Spanish sounds a little bit different, or their slang is a little bit different because they borrow from their regional indigenous people's language. Cubans, Dominicans, and Puerto Ricans are from the same indigenous people. So the same enslaved people from West Africa, the same colonizer, and the same indigenous people. They're the same. They're literally the same. But you know what Spain did? They plopped the Cuban flag on this one. They plopped the Puerto Rican flag on this one, and they popped and then they split the island with France. You know what I mean? As if they were just cattle, right? Split that down. France takes one side, Spain takes the other side, and they plop flags down there. And now we see the evolution of hundreds of years, where now Cuban Spanish sounds different than Dominican Spanish, sounds different than Puerto Rican Spanish. You know what I mean? Where we got one island with one people, and one side of the island fought for their freedoms, kicked the fuck out of the French, and now they have a completely different demographic in Haiti than you would see just across one imaginary line in the Dominican Republic. This is what colonizers do. Can you imagine if we didn't have different flags all over the place? We would be the world. The world is predominantly black and brown, and they split this on purpose. The division is on purpose. I don't even know what sparked that. So look at that. I made fun of your thing, Midnight Monarchy, but it just fed me. You know, it fed me. Back in the day, I might say, you caused the spirit to talk to me. So I appreciate you. They used to have posters in Australia incentivizing people to hunt Aborigines because they were considered animals. Yes. The British Empire is garbage water through and through. And everywhere they touch. No. I'm being serious. I appreciate I appreciate it. I appreciate the interaction, because I mean, look what it did. Sometimes a little spark is what I need. All right. I don't want to change gears after all that, so we're going to change up the order. I was going to do an update on Israel, but let's go ahead and start with the Jubilee video. We're gonna do black Christians versus black atheists. Ortega, Yarborough, all empires are trash. Bet. Yeah, I mean, pretty much it's in the name, right? Some are better than others. But you look at the Persian Empire. You know what's dope? While there's other atrocities, I'm not trying to pretend like anything was ever utopian. No, right? But something I learned I learned this back when I was majoring in military history for whatever fucking reason, and I was doing studying Spartans, and I wanted to learn about Persians. And believe it or not, this is all sparked by the movie 300. I really loved it, and I wanted to get into that history. And as I learned about the Persian Empire, one thing I learned, and this is the same for the Persian Empire, this is the same for Genghis Khan. Sometimes I forget that the aspect, the idea of race, nationalism is new. This is some 1800 shit. You know what I mean? Well, as far as nationalism goes, but racism, pretty fairly new in the long run. You know what I mean? This is why the arguments you hear today regarding, Israel and Palestine and stuff, they don't even really make sense a lot of the time, because we're trying to put a modern lens and a modern conversation on a people that for thousands of years didn't have racial identity in the way we look at it today, and definitely didn't have nationalism. YouTube, holding it down for YouTube, Ortega. The main crews on Twitch and I like seeing people over on the YouTube side. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. So so when you look at the Persian Empire or Genghis Khan's empire, or even like Alexander the Great, these are giant empires that spanned multiple people, and I'm 43 too. What's up, H twin? Um, and Persians had like black emperors. I mean like nobles in the court. They had Eastern Asian emperors. Not emperors. I keep saying emperors, but like nobility in the court, like rulers, provinces that ran their different provinces. It wasn't like how you see like Russia now, right? Did you know Russia's not white? When you look at how big Russia is, if you really take a look at the people in there, and then they got people that you're like, wow, they don't look Russian, they're Asian. Nope, that's the people that've been there for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But we saw what Russia did, and really they just kept it within there. Now when we look at Russia, we think white people, but Russia should be way more diverse than we see, but it's not, because we know why. We know why. But yeah, like Persian, Alexander the Great, from white people in Europe to brown people in North Africa with that would later be called Arabs, to sub-Saharan African black people. It didn't matter. There was two things that that really made a group, right? And it was language and religion. Language and religion. The original people were blue, black, big head scientists. Facts. We already know that. We know where the creator of life is, right? But they didn't care if you were blue, black, or if you were white, if you were copy paper white. If you spoke the language, and that was where they did, they would enforce, like in these areas, you would speak the emperor's language, right? So whatever language that was, that ancient Persian language or that ancient Mongol language, that would be the language you were going to speak, because that's what indicated who the people were, not your skin color. And it's just kind of wild trying to put that into like modern perspective, like imagining people going, what? No, you're black because you're from Africa and the sun is bright there, and you're white because you're from Europe and the sun hits at a different angle, and you wouldn't. What the fuck's that got to do if you're smart or not? You know what determines if you're smart? You know what determines if you're worth shit? What God do you worship? I don't know if that's any better though. I don't know. As an atheist, maybe that's maybe I would be looking at you. Did you know one day? Can you imagine a day when nobody cares what God you worship? Just like the color of your skin? No. See, even saying that, no. I think language and religion makes way more sense to unify around than just like what color your skin is. Because when you look at modern Republicans, you got modern Republicans that are so fucking racist that they'll hate you even though you agree with them politically. You agree with them on all their policies, their religion. They hate gay people just like you. And they go, yeah, that's great, man. Sucks you're not white. You'd be really cool if you were white. And that's why the Republican Party is gonna be defunct for quite a while, until the scary time where they figure that part out. The 14th, 32nd, and 49th popes were from Africa. And there was no sense of calling them black because of the lack of race classifiers. Yeah, but that didn't even, yeah, exactly. That didn't even exist at the time. They would be called Ethiopian, or they'd be called like whatever, whatever. Actually, they'd probably be called more based off of, their language or some shit. But yeah, but it wasn't, nobody give a fuck about being black or not. We had there was a black queen. There was a black queen in Denmark. You know why? Because she was from royalty, and royalty was royalty. Like, what? You're not. Yeah, we want this alliance. Yeah, I'm gonna marry your daughter, the princess, and we're gonna align this. I'm like, you sure she's black? Like, well, I don't know what that means, bro. Are you royal or not? Is this gonna make me rich or not? All right, let's get into it. Let's go ahead and let's watch Black Christians versus Black Atheists, the middle ground. This is gonna be interesting.
Is his appearance in the Bible?
I believe they describe him with like
feet were bronze and hair was
His feet was black as brass and his hair was that of wool. James Harden? James Harden? LeBron?
Hi, I'm Gen, and I explore social and controversial issues through both sides. Today I'll be moderating this middle ground episode of Black Christians versus Black Atheists. We'll be talking about the connection between race and religion, why Christians leave the church, as well as the communities that exist within and outside of the church. The first prompt is, the Black church shaped Black culture.
I would say Black culture shaped the Black church. When we talk about, just like we talked about earlier, when we talk about how was Christianity presented to the Black people of the New World, which were enslaved people, how was that presented to them? And no, I don't give a fuck about the Ethiopians and how they were Jewish and were one of the first Christians, unless somebody wants to show me evidence that they were a part of the transatlantic slave trade. I don't care. I just don't care. The black people we see in the United States, by and large, unless you are descended from those Christian Ethiopians, were presented this by their enslavers. So why would I think that Christianity affected Black culture when clearly Black culture affected the way Black churches were presented in the first place?
If we just look at the beginning of the civil rights movement, a lot of those Black people met up in churches in order to, talk about and, fight for the freedom of Black people. And so we have a lot of gospel music in our culture as well. I know you guys have probably heard some, even the atheists probably grew up hearing a lot of gospel music. Even now, that shapes our culture to this day.
Well, I think it was even further back than just civil rights. It goes back to slavery. It goes back to so many things as a part of our history.
Yeah, I think the Black church fundamentally has helped African Americans stay together. Even today, the Black church serves as a central hub for African Americans to gather and share ideas. Even in my family, the Black church was definitely pivotal for our development.
I think.
What's up, Dr. Midnight?
The Black church contributed to the culture of Black folks, just keeping us together as best we could, as best the church could. I think giving us hope. I think it was also a place of education for most of us as Black folks, a place for talent and freedom of expression. So I definitely think it has a bond around us.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I feel like there was a community significantly found within the church for the Black community. Like you said, education and music. There was a lot of belief, especially with what was happening during the slavery time. There was a lot of unity that brought people together and brought them hope in worshiping together and glorifying the Lord through that. So I believe that it definitely has shaped the Black churches and the Black community today.
Yes, the Black church has played a pivotal role into our time here in the United States as Black people.
That dude needs to lower the bass in his voice. I don't need anybody coming on my stream making me feel insecure about the way my voice about the way my voice sounds. He needs to calm down a little bit.
But the Black church, I believe, doesn't define us as Black people. Is it?
What's up, Dr. Midnight? Go ahead, speak it. Speak it. Or do you mean on Discord? You can say it on Discord too if you want. However you want to do it.
Necessarily the greatest thing for us. I definitely don't believe that.
Well, I would piggyback off of that because the black church, as we understand.
Yeah, he said, let's go. He said, I got something to say. I'm like, oh, okay, go on. I'm listening. Ding, 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 ding. That's what's up. Dr. Midnight coming in, coming with it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know, typically when that happens, you don't want to give somebody a shout out, but I know you don't stream. So do me a favor. Make sure you drop a link to your website where you sell your books and your comics. And I know you're working on a new one. Excuse me, I'm here burping and shit. You got a new one coming out. I know you're working on one. Congratulations on getting your art reviewed online by a YouTuber. Drop that video too if you want people to go check it out. But thank you very much for that. I appreciate that a lot. You have no idea. I'm not gonna do that for everyone, okay? I'm not like, don't drop another 10 and expect me to just come out here into the big screen. I'm just gonna be like, that's crazy, and we got shit to do, okay? All right, I just want to set expectations here. He closed the website for now, but you have an Instagram. You closed the website? Oh, well, I guess y'all ain't cool like me. I bought some books from there. Now I'm gonna officially call them limited edition. Get them slabbed. All right, let's go.
And it within our context is one thing, but what we forget is that Black people and Black Christians are not a monolith. So, for instance, there are 45,000 plus Christian denominations. I happen to be a Roman Catholic. You know, however.
Yeah, no one cares. You want to make this show about you. So check this out. The enslaved Africans who first arrived in the British colony of Virginia in 1619 after being forcefully removed from their natural environments left much behind, but their rhythms associated with music making journeyed with them across the Atlantic. Many of those Africans came from cultures where their mother tongue was a tonal trying to multitask here, was a tonal language. That is, ideas were conveyed as much by the inflection of a word as by the word itself. Melody, as we typically think of it, took a secondary role, and rhythm assumed major importance. For the enslaved Africans, music, rhythm in particular, helped forge a common musical consciousness in the understanding that organized sound could be an effective tool for communication. They created a world of sound and rhythm to chant, sing, and shout about their conditions. Music was not a singular act, but permeated every aspect of daily life. They didn't have town halls. You couldn't. You would be murdered. You would be executed. You couldn't protest. You couldn't gather in the town square and voice your concerns. So you know what they did? They protested and they yelled by way of music. And where did that music come from? That music came from Africa. Africa, the indigenous language and the indigenous music, the indigenous cultures of Africa shaped the Black church and Black gospels as we know it today.
However, I do have family that are a part of the Black church. Yes. So I think that it definitely does have its extent, but it's not all encompassing, as you've pointed out as well.
I'm curious, would you say the same thing about Black atheists as not a monolith?
Well, of course. I mean, I think whenever you paint anyone as a monolith, you've already shut down all kinds of conversation. So there's many reasons why someone may choose. It sounds like you guys might have grown up in the Black church or been at least exposed to it. There are many reasons why someone chooses to leave, and they're not all the same.
I'm curious, what is that distinction for you two?
Well, I'm a Black atheist and I'm an agnostic atheist, meaning that, maybe there's something out there, but most likely there's probably not a Jesus or Jesus up in the sky or Jesus coming back or anything like that that's going to come and save us.
Me personally, I study a sector of African spirituality, right? The way that I happened to stumble upon that, I started to ask myself questions like, who do my ancestors worship, right? What is the point of religion in general? How to proliferate around globally, right? And doing research, you start to see that Christianity became synonymous with white supremacy around the 4th century with Constantine, the emperor, right? In which they made it the Roman national religion. If you refuse to adhere to his Christian rule, then you would be beheaded. So I think that historically speaking, Christianity has been used to oppress and enslave a lot of people globally.
I think it's great that you take it that far back, but I think you have to really separate theology from black theologies for the sake of conversation. Because I think that when I talk to a lot of atheists and agnostics, we speak from the vacuum of black experience, and we already understand. In America, number one, that's troubled water, right? Globally, it's also...
Did he call Tyler Burns an atheist? Is that what he said? Or he just like listened to some talks from him or something? Sakivu Hutchinson is a good resource for understanding atheism from a black perspective. She wrote Humanists in the Hood, and it's amazing. Candace Gorham is also great, and she wrote a book called The Ebony Exodus Project. Damn, let me get my pen and paper.
Troubled water. I think a broad blanket would cover that it's suppressed people of color. We don't see ourselves in scripture. We don't see ourselves being, told. And when we did, when we were learning these stories in church back in slave times, we were told that our God wanted us to be slaves. So that very thing was utilized to suppress us. For heaven's sakes, the KKK came out of the church, right? So we do have a problem, and we can't just say the church is the end all to be all. It's a complicated conversation.
With that said, let me just put a pin on that. Let's get to the three gears in here.
Yes, so I disagree that the Black church has shaped Black culture, especially as in the affirmative entirely. Because what that does is it ignores our ancestors before the transatlantic slave trade.
Boom.
It ignores the fact that they had their own cultural beliefs and that there were many contributions that Black folks have made to this country that were not centered in Christianity. When we think about Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who was the founder of Negro History Week, who was Harvard educated, who had deep criticisms of the Black church. His roots were in free thought and criticism. Lorraine Hansberry, who wrote A Raisin in the Sun, Zora Neale Hurston, the famous author, and other Black folks who were not religious at all. Just because it is prevalent does not mean that it has entirely shaped our community.
Spitting. I love it. So I guess if you're a Black Muslim that was here in the civil rights movement and before, if you're a Black atheist, if you're a Black philosopher, you don't get any credits. You don't get your name in the credits for Black culture. You know what I'm saying? That is, man, I love it. I fucking love it.
For the better. And I think that we have to be mindful of the diversity that has been within our communities that has not always been rooted in Christian and religious faith. Oh,
Susan Turpin, she's been on your show before? Y'all need to start that back up we can shift all of Left Face. I'll do another rebrand. I don't care. I'll do one right now. It is an LLC though, so maybe we'll keep it because I don't want to just keep paying to like change the name with the state of Georgia. But we can make this a Christian atheist apologetic show. No.
Our communities have ignored the non-religious, atheist, and humanist presence for far too long, simply because there is a prevalence of Christianity in our communities.
I actually agree with you, because I don't think Christianity is supposed to take hold of somebody's culture and completely change it into something completely different. I think that Christianity welcomes different cultures. I think that true biblical Christianity looks at somebody in a different culture and says, hey, even though you're of this culture, even though you believe in different things or whatever, you can still be welcomed in the kingdom of God. Yeah,
see, that's what I was talking about earlier when I said that this, race is new and nationalism is new. And when I say new, I'm talking about when I say new, it's we're talking about hundreds of years, right? But now he's talking about, he's conflating the way that culture actually works. You know what I mean? And it has worked for thousands of years. A lot of times, people's, faith or how they view the world is part and parcel to their culture. you know? And so what the Christian does, right? And this again, this is what the Catholic Church and missionaries did throughout all of colonialism, is to say that you are not allowed to have your own culture. That is to say, you are not allowed to worship your own gods. You will worship ours. And in doing that, undoes your culture. You know what I mean? You can't talk to somebody whose faith is tied into thousands of years of their culture, and then say, yeah, but all you got to pull out this part. And well, that just undoes a thing. I'll tell you that.
Well, I find that very interesting because, as someone previously said, there are, 45,000 denominations of Christianity, some that might be more welcoming and some that are totally damning.
Right.
And we're talking about the same book. We're talking about the same text that has been interpreted, some for that has been used in the positive, and some that has definitely been used to enslave our ancestors, disenfranchise our communities, and also look at things through a lens that has demoralized us. So we cannot ignore that as far as historically.
I want to speak to something, going back to something that you had said about your belief systems now within the African spirituality and stuff like that, which I think is wonderful, actually. And I don't think it's actually too far from some of the things that we might believe, as Christians, right? But there is a constantly erroneous thought that Constantine came and did all of these things. Christians were being persecuted in Rome and throughout, the Middle East far before Constantine, right? And then that doesn't.
You notice how she hasn't said what the erroneous thought was. She says, there's this erroneous thought that Constantine came and just did all these things. Okay, so is that the erroneous thought? Is that the thing that didn't happen? She goes, persecution happened before that. Where's the false? Where is the erroneous statement? She doesn't. They just like to they just talk and then shift lanes. No one said that Christians weren't persecuted. Everyone was persecuted if you were within the culture that was the dominating force. You know what I mean? If you weren't within the culture in which religion was used as power, and if you tried to usurp that power, then you were gonna pay the price. But absolutely, Constantine and his shift towards Christianity and how he enforced that absolutely is really the birth of widespread Christianity in Europe.
I mean, if we're going to talk about the roots of Christianity, how do you explain the Tawahedo Church, the Ethiopian Tawahedo Church, which was never anything that was forced upon the Ethiopian people? In fact, in the Bible.
There we go. There's the Ethiopian people. Like, yes, they were. That's why don't we see, why do we always, when we talk about the African continent and Christianity, why do we always talk about Ethiopians? If this was such a nail in the coffin, wouldn't there be more than Ethiopians? Like, give me other cultures. Give me other indigenous tribes all throughout Africa. Christianity, right? God just will spread it. It's not new. It's not just because of the transatlantic slave trade. Oh, okay. No, okay, got it. All right, but
you have in Acts where an Ethiopian was baptized and went to spread the gospel to all the people. Where do you think he went as an Ethiopian? So there are roots of Christianity which are far beyond this conquering of Constantine and all that stuff. But what I will say in complete agreement with all of you, with everyone here, is that Christianity as a whole has been abused. It has been taken. It has been used to demoralize. Just because there are people who are infiltrators, just there are people who will use the word God against us as people, it does not invalidate what he said and what he taught. This narrative of Christianity is the white man's religion. Jesus Christ wasn't white. I mean, that's just a fact.
To respond to that, I think that my point was that in the 4th century, it became synonymous with white supremacy, right? So it did not spawn, right? So Christianity, as you said, was actually in Africa, right? But I believe that today, Black Christians, and of course, I'm not here to disrespect any of you guys, but I believe that.
But I'm about to disrespect you.
The modern iteration of Christianity, right, spawning from the Judeo-Christian belief system, has forced Black Christians to speak a lot of multiculturalism, to put the idea of unity above the idea of Blackness, right? And when you put unity above Blackness, we are the ones who suffer in America. So I feel like a lot of Black Christians, they don't want to talk about the history of Christianity. I believe that they want to ignore a lot of facts when it comes to Christianity. I believe that they don't want to look at it as a whole, right? So I do believe that a lot of problems do occur from this.
Can you explain that a little bit further, that difference between the multicultural unity and not putting Blackness ahead of it?
I'm so glad you asked that, Jay.
Yeah, let's go.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that the George Floyd protests are a perfect example to look at. Tons of unity when George Floyd died. 2021, record police killings. 2022, record police killings. 2023, record police killings. When people join our fight, love everybody, be humanitarian. When people join our fight, it tends to become about unity, and it tends to become about how not racist America is. And Black issues and Black politics tend to get washed away. So I have a lot of Black Christians who say, let's accept everybody, Jesus told us to turn the other cheek, but they are killing us, bro. The world, like globally, Africans are being oppressed. It's not a joke.
You're making a face.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I made a lot of faces, but I mean, it's really good stuff, and I don't even know where to go back and address some of it. It's really good stuff. So theology, right, just in a broad sense, is usually defined.
It's cool, Dr. Midnight. You just make me look super jacked. That's all. That's how my mental image is, and so like anything less than that, I'm gonna be extremely offended. It's like super jacked, like The Rock jacked. Just kidding.
By either one referring to nature, experiences, tradition, and maybe scripture, right? Just on a broad sense. It could be broken down even further. So I think that when we come to a place as Black folks, we come and we lean heavily into our experience, right? And if all of these different sources are places where we would lean, then our pillars are a little bit out of balance if it's solely based upon what we've been through. Right? So I think that we have to be a little bit more balanced. When you said that the church hasn't impacted culture, I think the church has not impacted what we bring to church. We still hand clap, toe tap, dance, shout, run, throw wigs and everything else when you go to certain churches, right? Because Black culture expresses itself a certain way. What it has done to us, and I agree to your point, is it has limited our free thought. Right? Because we have learned to come to church and check our minds at the door and just do church the way it does, the way it goes. And if you don't get happy and shout, you ain't been to church, you ain't seen God.
Yeah, so when you described theology.
Hey, real quick, because we're about to get into, as a Black person, people always assume I'm Christian. And that one lasts for about 11 minutes. If that is interesting, does that sounds interesting to y'all? Let me know in the chat. Otherwise, if I don't hear anything, we're going to go to the claim the church has helped Black people more than the government, and then have them talk about that part, right? So just let me know if anybody wants me to watch through the assumption part.
You left out one word, which is evidence. You know, when we think about the rules of how we learn, how we train, how we educate ourselves, in theology, especially within the Black church and Black theology, we are dismissing evidence. Where is the proof?
Well, I think that coming back to the prompt, the idea that the church really shaped the Black culture is really community did, because we didn't have spaces. So the only space that we could exist in with any kind of freedom or away from watchful eyes was being able to worship and practice. That's why we melded a lot of the practices that we had, especially in African religious traditions, to Christianity.
Bingo.
So that we could continue worshiping and having these different traditions.
That's exactly what happened in Greece. That's what happened in Rome. That's what happened in the indigenous communities. When people look at disregarding American media and Hollywood, when we look at the religion that surrounds voodoo, and how Christianity is practiced in places like Haiti, what we're seeing is a melding of African religions, indigenous religions, and stuff like that. When you look at Latin American cultures, traditions, what's the word I'm thinking of? Superstitions, right? When we look at these things, you look, a Christian from England or fuck it, a Catholic from Ireland goes and meets a Catholic from the Uruguay, and it's like they're gonna have different practices, different belief system, even though they're both Catholic. Why? Because one is incorporating those indigenous practices.
Continue throughout our community. So Black people have always survived and continue to advance and evolve through sticking together.
Cluminati, thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate the lurk too.
Church just happened to be the place where we could kind of do that without having other people in our business.
It was functional.
Let's move on to the next prompt.
We all possess the capacity for compassion and connection. And
okay, real talk. Look, your boy's an anti-capitalist, but if Ground News wanted to sponsor me, if that would be dope, because that's literally what I use. I'm about to do what they do, but I'm gonna do it for free. Sometimes I'll look at something, like when I was looking up Al Shifa, I'll go to Ground News, I'll put Al Shifa, and I was like, da, 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 and I'll see like how the different people kind of talk about shit. Pretty fucking interesting. If you guys don't use Ground News, you should. And then let's see, I don't know, let's see right here. Ground News /Jubilee if you want to support, or go find your favorite creator that is sponsored by Ground News and use their code. As a Black person, people always assume I'm Christian. Let's go ahead and to this one. It's the same even here in the U.S. Catholicism in Boston is not the same as Catholicism in Corpus Christi. Yep. You are correct. Going on. There we go.
The Black church is better than the white church.
Join our Middle Ground Patreon to watch this exclusive prompt.
The churches help Black people more than the government.
I'm a little upset that that's a Patreon prompt, and only for one reason. Hold on, where's she at? Come on. Well, her. This one right here. Let me tell you all something. You think I was a plant for Jubilee, but I kind of want to go get like a 1 month Patreon just to watch this exclusive prompt, because this one right here, I am getting all kinds of vibes of, I don't know, maybe a little bit of anti-Blackness, maybe a little bit of self-hate, something here is not I don't know. Let's get into it.
The churches help Black people more than the government. You hesitate a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So in case the people haven't figured it out, I think there are sides, I guess, but really it's agree and disagree to the statement. So you might find one of the Christians and atheists on the same side of a topic on this seating arrangement if they both agree with a statement, but they probably agree with disagree for different reasons. So I think the people who walk up first are the people who are willing to debate. They want to be able to debate their position, and the other people are just kind of like, yeah, it is my position, but I don't really have much to say about it or some shit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's like a two-headed sword, right? Because church is someplace that we can go, gather. It is very helpful to the community in the sense of we can be there together. We can have conversations with one another.
Hot take. If we're talking about post-Atlantic, transatlantic slave trade, post-emancipation, this is a hot take coming from me, but I would say that the church, right, helped Black people more than the government ever did, right? The government that enslaved them, the government that had Jim Crow laws in place, right? And to be clear, I don't attribute that to the church. I attribute that to community. And the church was, again, like we've said multiple times now, the church was the only place for community. So that's what we're seeing when I'm saying that the church was better for black people than the government was. That's because it was community, right? If you had the church and then some other center of community, whatever that is, revolving around whatever, then that thing would be the thing that did the best, right? Because it's really going to be about community at that point. People are provided boom, yep. If people are provided a community that does the same thing churches do, then we don't have a need to church. People go to church less for spiritual benefits than they do for the community benefits. Bingo. That is exactly it. And when people ask me, what do I miss most about being Christian? I miss dropping my kids off at Sunday school. I miss potlucks. I miss showing up and being like, hey, what's going on? Da 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 da, and having that, right? And I kind of get that through the Discord that we have, through friends I have that I keep in touch with, the local DSA that I am not active enough with, but I connect with, the local Palestine group that I've been interacting with. Like these are good places, but I haven't found anything that really connects you like the church of my youth did, which is unfortunate. But no, you're absolutely right. The indigenous Americans had that, and settlers had to wreck that ASAP because it made them all more self-sufficient. Bingo.
At one point during slavery, it may be the only place you can see your family or connect with one another. A lot of churches can help build different programs within the community. But I think, again, it comes back to that word of like wanting to assemble someplace, wanting to be with people that look like you. And a lot of the church movement did have to force the government's hand of like, all right, we need civil rights. So that was kind of birthed and, pushed through in that way. So no, I don't trust the government, and I don't think the government is here to help black people. I don't think the government is here to help really any poor people. And a lot of black people, unfortunately, are disenfranchised, so.
This is interesting that all the atheists step forward for
so
this.
I go back to history.
There are black churches that help because people of community, because people of the community now there are they care more about profit than people and children than people who want money for a private jet like Creflo Dollar. No, 100%. I'll tell you what, nothing is more disgusting to me. Well, I mean, obviously that's hyperbole. There's a lot of things more disgusting, but I'll tell you what. What's it called? What's this ministry called? Oh, it's the ministry that talks about how faith turns into financial success. The prosperity gospel. That's what it's called. There it is. Yep. Susan. Yep. The prosperity gospel. That shit. Let me tell you. So much of it makes me want to puke. Not prosperity. So much of Christianity in general, right? Especially when we're talking about fundamentalism, right? Specifically, evangelical fundamentalists. I always have to add this disclaimer, right? But if you are like, a Unitarian or United Church of Christ and your pastor's gay or something, like obviously I'm not talking about you, but we're talking about the predominant force in the United States of America, which is evangelical fundamentalism, and a lot of that is disgusting. But man, does the prosperity gospel take the cake? The amount of money that you'll see people, even from people that damn near operate like the prosperity gospel, right? Because please believe there is going to be a racist component behind the kind of people that even use prosperity gospel. Because if you notice, whenever we talk about the prosperity gospel, it's always going to be black pastors, right? But when you look at Joel Osteen and who's that other dude, the guy who's gonna I blow you away, COVID-19, right? They're all the same thing. They all preach the same thing. That is prosperity gospel. You give tithe so that you can receive blessings. And these people, these old people, these people who are desperate and vulnerable, pour money. Kenneth Copeland. You know what I mean? If somebody tells me that Creflo Dollar, who's also a piece of shit, by the way, is prosperity gospel, but not Kenneth Copeland or Joel Osteen, they get the squinty eyes from me. Got my eye on you. But all that shit is super garbage duty water. Damn, I kind of forgot. I was gonna respond to whatever was just said, and I forgot. Moving on.
After slavery and Reconstruction, right? So after slavery, there were blacks in Congress. You know, there was black progress. However, once Reconstruction ended, and there were racist people that were brought in power to disfranchise black folks, there were many churches in the religious community that helped support in times when, you know, black folks couldn't get good jobs, who could not get you know, a good education, even though there were historically black colleges and universities. I do tend to give the church its credit at times. And again, that doesn't mean, you know, the black church.
Do tell. I wanna hear. I wanna know your opinion on this.
Gets to define the black community in its entirety,
Pulpit
and that
pimps.
it should define all of us that way. But we have to give credit historically where it's
credit's
due.
due.
The U.S. government has had a lot of policies to keep African Americans down for the past, ever since after slavery and even before. So we also had redlining, which kept black communities poor and away from certain jobs in the inner city, white flight, all these things, were perpetrated and supported by the U.S. government in every single major city in the United States. But the one place where black people we can come and congregate was the church. It was kind of a de facto
And
place.
get information.
And get information.
Yes.
So my question to all of you guys as atheists who stood up for this one
For sure.
is, do you guys view it as more of a lesser than two evil situation where you guys just really distrust the government, so why you guys have created this prompt? How would you answer that?
Oh,
See, even the way that you worded the question, the lesser of two evils, because evil is a word that gets really
I meant that in just like a phrase.
No, I know, but I'm just saying the underlying tones of just like the American community, and therefore it's projecting its domination throughout the world, right?
Let's say the lesser of two entities in this instance.
Sure.
the church itself, it's about what it doesn't do. It's not about how it hurts the community. It's about what it doesn't do, not what it does do, right? So I think that with the government, for every new deal that you get a war on drugs. For every
Man, I'm slow as hell. Ortega, I just realized what I didn't realize who was Tyler Burns. So off to the side, I Googled Tyler Burns, and there's a black pastor. That's what really threw me off. And I saw a black pastor named Tyler Burns he's like a public figure. Then I'm like, I don't see a Tyler Burns. I don't know what he's talking about. Maybe he's referencing something I don't get. That dude is Tyler Burns, and now I'm tying it all together. Please believe I clocked that as well. I just didn't feel like getting pedantic about it. And yeah, if you are believing in gods, even if they are your African indigenous gods, you're not an atheist. I'm with you. I think in this panel, atheist just means not Christian. I've got pizza in the microwave, but my sugar is at like 60, so my brain isn't fully functioning right now. Okay, go eat your pizza, and then I want to know your opinion on what ways that atheists talk about Christianity that annoys you. I want to hear it.
welfare system that's implemented, we get cracks and gun in our community.
Yeah.
Right. So I believe that when it comes, I believe that the Black church historically has given us jobs, organized our movements. Without the Black church, we would not be here today. Let's get that straight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. They were very important.
No, wrong. I now that's where I'll draw the line. Again, remember what I said. I said it wasn't so much the Black church as much as it was Black community, right? Black people. And if the Black church didn't exist, Black people would still exist. Black people and their community, whatever that community looked like. Now, Ortega, bingo, without Black community, they wouldn't be there. If they figured out a way to break that down, I feel that. But I don't put that with Black churches. Black churches was just the de facto vehicle for community, and Black people would have had community regardless.
But today, they don't have the same value historically, and the government just after the George Floyd protests, the two major bills that were passed, even though they passed 1,000 oversight bills for police brutality, the main bills that they passed was, I believe, an Asian hate bill and an LGBTQ hate bill. So I don't think that the government is necessarily, I believe that it's too overstretched.
And also, let's take it to the reparations discussion.
Yeah.
About how there were supposed to be reparations after slavery.
I still want my 40 acres and a mule.
40 acres and a mule.
Give me my 40 acres and a mule.
And that was thwarted through the U.
I will give some gray room, a gray area. I'll give some wiggle room to spirituality. I think you can be an atheist and believe in ghosts or the metaphysical, right? Because when we start talking about what atheist means, I don't like, I don't like expanding it beyond what the word means, and it just means no gods, right? If you don't believe any god or God exists, but you believe in ghosts, I still think that counts as, if you think that your ancestors, still exist in some ether and they influence you, I don't know if I would call that atheism personally, but I'd be fine if somebody did. If that person said, I don't believe any gods. I don't believe gods exist. I believe, I don't believe any, God or being created the world type shit. But if you believe in any God, you're not an atheist.
U.S. government. So we can definitely even point to that. And
Agnostic
we are
spiritual.
still having this discourse about reparations and economic justice that we shouldn't be having now, that the federal government could have resolved a long time ago.
And still could.
Let's hold. Let's bring.
I think her dress, hold on a second. Is her dress the carpet from The Shining? I don't think it is, but I think it's damn close, and that's pretty dope. I want a shirt now that is the print of The Shining carpet.
No disagreeers. Would anyone like to start?
Yeah, I'm a little bit neutral when it comes to this standpoint because I feel that there was a lot of redlining. You brought up such a great point. When I was exposed to the amount of redlining that the government had imposed on Black communities, minority communities, especially what's happening up in San Francisco right now, up in New York, it was bizarre. And that had pushed a lot of Christian churches, a lot of churches in general, to open up assistant living, open up food shelters and home shelters for assisting in people that the government wasn't doing. But at the same time, the church was also pushing this on the government, on their local legislators and their mayors to also make movements and propositions to do that. So it's kind of like this fine line between both. I don't trust the government. I don't trust also completely like people who run the church because they're not all good people. They're not all good people who we elect as well into our branches and legislator government.
You're a boss, Susan. Thank you very much.
And stuff. So there's just this neutrality that I'm sit between with because is it really going to benefit, or are these just propositions to just temporarily save someone's butt and then go on to the next and then just continue to like put the Band-Aid on the big scar?
I ask myself, why didn't I walk up in favor of the church doing more? And at the risk of giving any ammo for the other side, no, at the risk, I think I look at the church with a very critical eye. I think that I'm troubled by what we do and what we don't do. I'm troubled by how we do some of the stuff that we do, and we miss the bigger pictures, right? And so for that reason, I had to just hold back and say, I don't think that we're doing all that we should be doing.
Sorry to interrupt, but what are some specific examples of that?
I think that we've got.
What? 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 What is happening right now? What is happening? No, this is not happening. This is not happening. This is not real. This is not real life. I'm getting punked. What's up? No. I never want to hear how you are a horror. You've never seen The Shining? That's what happened. You derailed the whole show. The whole show is ruined now. I can't even think straight. All right, let me stop being melodramatic.
Gotten into this Western world mentality where church now is gimmicky. I think that it's about becoming so seeker-friendly. And we play to certain audiences, we play to certain things. We code switch organizationally, if you can believe that. You can have a church over here where everybody is praying for healing, but everybody's broke. This church over here is a church of prosperity. This church over here is a church of tongue talking. So you've got these different characteristics that if there's no balanced theological view of it. And so I think that
I'm gonna need time. I think I'm gonna sleep in the studio tonight. I just need some time.
church runs the risk of showing up impotent in some of the conversations that we need to have.
How much money does your church make a year? This is important. How much money does your church make a year?
I don't have that number at the top of my mind. I wasn't coming to talk about the budget.
Okay, okay, that's very important. The reason why I bring it up is because we're talking about what the black community, what the black church does for the community, right? And if you are taking money from the black participants who go to your church, you should know how much money you're taking from the community, especially since the community isn't financially stable.
Yeah.
But also churches that make over $100,000 per year should do exactly what the black church used to do during the civil rights era.
I think that's a harsh criticism. I think it's a huge assumption.
Wait, hold on. Let him finish.
So churches that do make over $150,000 a year, they need to invest that money in the black institutions.
With all due respect,
Wait,
$150,000.
I do want to hear from his response. How would you respond?
You can start a bank with that.
How would you respond?
I think we have to be careful about drawing assumptions of what churches do. I was making a very broad commentary about how I see churches behave, but don't get me wrong, there are a lot of churches that are doing exactly what you just said they should be doing.
See, this is when the what's it called? The cognitive dissonance kicks in, right? So where he's like, we do have a lot of churches that don't do enough. Actually, I'm going to stand on the line that says the government does more than churches because of how much they could be doing more. And then when someone calls that out and says, hey, how much money does your church take in tithe, in offerings, in when they pass the plate? What does your pastor drive? What is his pastor's bank account drive? What does the pastor's wife drive? What college does the pastor's kids go to? And then what is the median income for the people inside that church? And now he wants to say, oh, hold on. Churches do a lot, actually. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm on the wrong side. What I meant to say is the churches do the most. Come on now. Come on. It looks like Robo is watching The Shining and the sequel with Maneater 07 this week, and I won't even ask y'all about WrestleMania. Nah. I tell you what, hit up DS brain farting, DSB. Hit up DSB and Blurred. Actually, Blurred doesn't watch WWE, so DSB will be watching it though.
Turkeys and shoes aren't enough for our community.
Well, see, I can't get into that part of it because turkeys and shoes are not the conversation I'm having. I'm having a conversation about a methodology to reach a people and be a service to a community. I'm talking about down payment assistance so that black folks can own homes. I'm talking about doing financial stewardship education courses. I'm talking about, counseling and support systems for family and standing in the gap for mothers with the single mothers with children and making sure that they have mentors for their sons and their daughters. I'm talking about programs that actually affect folks' lives. But meanwhile, you're on a different page, and I get that, but I wouldn't brush that very broad because there are a lot of ministries that are doing it. What I'm looking at is the impact of the way.
Hey, I tell you what, that I like. After we're done with this, we'll put up Dr. Midnight's art, the piece he's working on for Nerds of Culture. That's what's up. And I tell you what, I like it so far. That's dope.
This division amongst the body of Christ actually shows up in the world. I think it shows up a little bit less impotent than it should. And on behalf of the body of Christ, I apologize that you've seen that more than you've seen the effective work.
Is that fair?
No, it's not fair. And once again, when you dive into this with Christians, I often feel that there's this neglect for politics. Jesus was a fighter. Jesus was a fighter. He was not
anti-capitalist.
He was not pacifist. He was anti-capitalist, right? So while what you're saying is very good, and I respect the fact that
Jesus was out here flipping the tables inside the temple, and Donald Trump is selling a Bible with his name on it for how much is it? Hold on. I don't want to make shit up, right? I know he's been sold. Donald Trump Bible. $60 fucking dollars. $60. Trump is selling God Bless the USA Bibles for $60 as he faces mounting legal bills. You remember when he petitioned for New York to cut his $400 billion whatever the fuck, and they or million rather a billion and they cut it down to 100 and something million. Yeah, he's hurting, and you know what he does? Goes and sells the Bible. Yet we got people very close to me in my family tree out here talking about how he's a good Christian, and maybe he's not the best person, but he's a better Christian than Biden. And it's just like, oh my fucking God. Pun intended.
You are a leader, right? And that you do own your own black church, right? But there needs to be more. I don't want you just meeting with mothers, right? If my grandma is funding her own displacement every single time she donates to
Good night, man-eater. Get ready. We're watching The Shining this weekend, so just be ready.
The church, and they put their money at Chase Bank.
Yeah.
You understand that, right?
I guess, like, what specifically would you like?
What's the more that you're looking for within the churches for the black community?
I need the church to put their race. I need all black Christians to put their race either on the same level or above Christianity politically, not socially, politically.
Yeah.
Right? We need to, as a pastor.
Okay, here we go. This is interesting. And sometimes, all right, we're going to keep watching. But sometimes I'll meet, whether they're atheists or just anti-Christian activists. And it turns out that they are really just, pro whatever they believe, and then anti-Western culture or something like that, right? And I'm down. Like I am okay with Afrocentrism. I'm okay with marginalized people who want their own space. I'm not okay with the philosophy and teachings of people like Omar, right? Okay. So we'll see where this is going.
You need to preach that the church needs institutions. Otherwise, every single time that our grandmas go and pay tithes, they are funding their own displacement.
How is that better than white supremacy, though, if you're asking us to be supremacists about being black people?
Didn't I call it? First of all, I'm not acting like my alarms were going off, right? He says some shit that I need him to finish cooking. You know what I mean? I don't know where he's going yet, but he didn't even get to anything bad yet. Like, I'm hoping he doesn't go somewhere wild, right? But he just said that the churches need to start putting blackness first in policy, in politics, over other shit. Like he said, taking money from their people and then putting it in Chase Bank. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay. But hearing the fact that black people need their own institutions in order to get a level playing field, that is on par with white supremacy. Come on.
I know what you're about to say. However,
You know what supremacy entails?
Yes, yeah, I know what you're about to say. However, you have brought up white supremacy several times, but now you're saying put your blackness above everything. Black is the only way to think about, and that is a supremacy in and of itself.
No, it's not.
Which I can respect your opinion on that, but I don't operate just because of my blackness. There's so much more to me as a human, a woman, and other things. An American, like there are things that are intersectional about me as a person in this world. That's not just everything has to be about my race, and I have a problem with that. Just that thought in in general, that everything must be seen through the eyes of being black. And if you don't, you get your black card
Well,
revoked.
I think
It's
what
just
he's trying to
crazy.
say.
Let me answer it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I never told you to use your blackness to make anybody else feel inferior by the way of their race. So no, I'm not spreading black supremacy. And I find it often that racist white people and black people in the church love to call me racist, bro.
I'm not even.
Love to call me racist.
You notice he said racist white people and black people in the church. He wanted to say something else. He wanted to say, but he's smart, right? When you're dealing with these kind of people, you can't be out there calling people, you can't throw down self-hate. You can't throw down, the C word and things like that, right? Because that does shut down conversation. He'll say, he knows what he wants to say. They all know what he wants to say, but we're just gonna keep it right here. But what she is doing is the biggest mistake she's making, right? And this is the kind of shit that conservative white people love. They love this shit, right? They're like, yeah, this is that all lives matter shit. That's what she's doing. She's literally just doing all lives matter type shit. And it almost seems like it would be counterintuitive to be against racism and then be for what he's talking about, right? It says, yeah, why should I walk through life where my identity is black first or Latino first or whatever marginalized group you're in, where that is the face? You know why? You know why? Because we've already talked about it. We know race is fake. Race is made up. Race as a product of as a byproduct of power or as a vehicle for power is made up and brand fucking new in the context of human existence, right? So if we know that it's made up, then guess what, Mrs. I don't see color, Mrs. All Lives Matter? It doesn't fucking matter if you don't want to look through the lens of blackness or you don't want to put your blackness first, because the entire world around you is going to put your blackness first, right? And if you have communities where it is a community for that marginalized group, in this conversation, it's for black people, and that black community does not put their blackness first, then they are already disenfranchising themselves and anybody who follows that community. Because again, the entire world is going to see you as black first, through and through. And so you have to do something about that. And that doesn't mean shit on anybody else. That doesn't mean that you want your own KKK, but for black people or nothing like that, right? That's what they do. That's the lie they tell you to give you that lie of unification, right? And it just doesn't work like that. It's not the same thing.
And it's supremacy.
I am not
What
the
are you trying to
church,
say?
though. That's the thing. I am not the
Wait, hold on.
church in the way that you're trying to label me.
Let him clarify.
Yes.
Go for it.
So what I'm saying is that if you are a part of the Black Power movement and if you are conscious of what goes on in the black community, then there is no way in hell that you will put being gay over being black, you will put being a Christian over being black, you will put being a woman over being black. You can get disabled. You can get disabled. But that's about it. That's about it. There is no reason in the world.
Entire identities on their sexuality and being.
I'm not gonna lie. So that whole part right there, like if I wore my thought process on my face, it'd be like bat, and then like that last like 10 seconds is like a okay, yeah. I think some kind of conversations are I think some kind of conversations could be had in good faith in a very controlled community, right? Like if we're gonna put your sexuality before your race or whatever before your race, I think inside those groups you could have that. Because let me tell you all something. This is the shit. Remember, I referenced this at the start of the stream when we were talking about somebody who cussed me out for saying that, yeah, no, black and brown people do have a homophobia problem. I think that it would be very hard as a black gay person, right? Especially if you're a black black lesbian or a black trans man. If you are a black trans woman, if you are to say that I'm going to put my blackness first when the community in general, right? In general, is not very accepting of you in the first place. So you're like further marginalized from that, right? And to where it's almost like a different category, because we know there's racism in the gay community as a whole in the United States, because the gay community is predominantly white, right? And then we have your own church-led community that doesn't accept you. So you kind of have to set yourself apart from that. So I don't know. Colorblind people are just disadvantaging themselves and leaving themselves open to be manipulated by covert messages. Yep. I disagree on the last part as well. I think she burned her black card fast like Cuba Gooding Jr. did when Boys in the Hood came out. I will say that dude ain't wrong. The LGBTQIA will come back to the defense of others before they come to the defense of the black community. Well, here's what I'm gonna tell you, Rough Rider. I love you, right? Nothing but love, right? But let me whenever Dave Chappelle is talking about like trans and things like that, there's language, and language matters. Okay, language matters. And it's not just a semantical thing. This is I find this to be important distinction. I find it funny when Dave Chappelle will say something like, trans people do this and gay people do this. You don't see black people doing this. And it's like, wait, time out. Those are not exclusive groups. There are gay black people. You know what I mean? And so when you say the LGBTQIA will come to the defense of others before they come to the defense of black members of that community, then I feel like I feel like it's important to are we talking about just the white ones? You know what I mean? And what does others mean, right? So I think it's important to say that it's important that the queer community comes to the defense of its white members of its community over its black members, and that I definitely agree with you. That's why I think that to say that a black queer person should put their blackness first, is something that that's something I probably I would like to hear a black queer person's opinion on. But I would say if somebody said, nah, not me, not when I've been disowned by my family, not when my church hates me and tells me I'm going to hell, not when everybody in my old friends think I'm disgusting and believe the pedo jacking bullshit, I don't expect that person to put their blackness first. So I don't know.
Gay as well. So what about that?
The reason
you don't have
why
a problem with that, because if they're not Christian, then it's okay to be gay and black, right?
it depends on how you align yourself politically. I just said you
black. So what?
There is no reason in the world.
Entire identity is on their sexuality and being gay as well. So what about that?
The reason
you don't have
why
a problem with that, because if they're not Christian, then it's okay to be gay and black, right?
It depends on how you align yourself politically. I just said you guys can be Christian. You guys can be Christian, but you need to prioritize blackness.
Isn't our existence?
See, that right there is how she by the way, I don't know, my brain works a little funny. It's binging around, so I'm going to say this out loud. I brought up Dave Chappelle as a way to just bring up like linguistics and like, just something. I'm not comparing you to Dave Chappelle or anything you said to Dave Chappelle. I have to throw that out there. I have to get it out of my mouth because it's going to be binging around in my head. And then I'm going to do something like DM you in 4 hours and be like, hey, bro, just so you know, I didn't, social anxiety. Okay. Sorry. All right. Now, notice how this is that Christian persecution shit. This is like the way that, white people do it, right? White persecution, a persecution complex. It's this whole thing where it's like, we always have to be the one who's getting persecuted, right? And it's important to them, right? It's important. And the reason what is important is the religion itself kind of informs that, right? Because Jesus says that, that you will be abused, that you will be chased underground, right? That says you will be forced into basements, you'll be forced underground, right? And so when that happens, like ooh, this is it. This is like what the Bible says. And it's like, okay, but I mean, Muslims are getting persecuted in India. Mormons were getting persecuted. I mean, like, oh well. I mean, the whole queer community getting persecuted. I guess that they're God's chosen people. Like, he never said that you can't be Christian and be black. He said that the churches need to put blackness first. And then he goes on to say that people who are gay and everything else needs to put blackness first also. And yet what she heard was, you could be a gay and black, but not Christian and black. Oh, it's not okay to be Christian and black. Oh, it depends now, huh? Like, she's dunking like, okay, you're just not listening. You just need to be persecuted.
More than our political stance.
That's force-fed to you, brother, to be ignorant.
No. It's my belief. It's well thought out. I believe that who I am as a person is very much more broader than what you're describing I should be, right? I think that I just do. Now, am I for the cause and the advancement of black folks? Absolutely.
How?
Globally.
How?
I'm not here to prove my blackness to you. I'm here to talk about...
No, he didn't say prove your blackness. He said, in what way do you advocate for the advancement of black people? In what way do you do that? Is it just doing an all lives matter, I don't see color, and I make sure I code switch appropriately so people don't so my bosses continue to like me? Is that how that works, or what?
I'm talking about the difference, the chasm between you and I with a belief system. And what I'm saying is, while I respect you, you got to respect me for this conversation to be fluid.
Absolutely.
Right? Because I'm not challenging you or diminishing what you believe. I'm listening to you and I understand your come from. But the only way we experience another culture is that we explore our commonalities. So I get your passion. I get your passion, and I definitely do the work in our community. And if you're suggesting that we should probably do other work, then let's have that conversation, because having a conversation that makes me feel like I need to surrender my black card is a conversation that gives us more of a chasm, so we never get there together.
Why in the...
I think he's about to say it. But again, he never said that you're not black if you don't do this. He said, in order for a marginalized community like black people in this conversation to advance, they need to start fighting for policies and institutions that support black people, that put black people first. That's what that needs to happen, because, or else you will always be under the heel of white supremacy. Always. So when other people who don't want to be black first, people who have that deep-seated self-hate, right? Because they're taught to be anti-black, right? That internalized racism, then automatically when it says, hey, I think people should put their blackness first and fight for black policies and black institutions, suddenly that's calling their blackness into question, because he never did that.
That becomes another
pro-blackness. Why in the face of pro-blackness, everyone else's blackness feels diminished?
Boom.
That's insane to me.
No, because it's
what I'm saying is that a
portion
of your energy and time needs to politically go into black institutions and black politics in order for us to get a foothold in the
Says
country.
You, but you're not an authority for me. You're not an authority
my
for
brother says
all black
political
folks.
science.
No. Political science isn't my
Let's take a
authority.
step back, because I think we're getting too wrapped up actually in the black part of it right now. And I think ultimately I understand a lot of what you're saying, and you're specifically talking about capitalism, right?
No.
And how it affects black people in the world. No. Okay. So you are talking about putting blackness above everything else politically.
Do you guys feel like black people and Africans are oppressed globally?
Yeah.
And in America?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we all have that common belief, right? So
what did he say? An oppressed people? Is that what he said? Or oppressible? I didn't hear what he said.
Systemically, right? The only way for us to beat systemic, right?
Yeah.
And in America.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys feel like black people and Africans are oppressed globally?
Yeah.
And in America.
Oppressed
systemically, right?
Oppressed globally and systemically. Okay.
The only way for us to beat systemic racism is for us to get institutions of our own, right? The only way for us to get out of this oppression, right, is for us to stop playing around with everyone else's beliefs and ideologies and focus on an Afrocentric belief. That's what I'm saying. You guys can do whatever you want, love everyone, be whatever type of intersectionality that you would like to be, right? But if you support Israel and Gaza, if you're putting that on your story, then I need you to put the Congo on there as well.
Yeah.
I need you to put Haiti on there as well.
Do you know how many black
Okay. Interesting. Well, this part I will admit, this part I'll go. What, and I tried to, and Haiti too, Tyler. Exactly. I want somebody to go scan down Tyler's Twitter and see if he uses the word tether at all. Look, how do I want to put this? I think, you know what? I'm not gonna speak on black separatism because I want to get smarter on it, and I want to have a good faith conversation with somebody on black separatism. Off the top of my head, I would say that given the history of the last 400 years, last 1,000 years, given the reign of the British Empire and the French Empire, and to desire black separatism is makes sense, right? It's when I hear black separatism, I don't hear the same thing as white separatism, right? It is not. I do not equivocate. However, I think we can look at all completely black communities and watch how exploitation and capitalism will deteriorate and fuck up anything that's going on there. You know what I mean? And so yes, I believe that's true. Yes, I am down for people for understanding that they need institutions for themselves and to put the advancement of their people. But I think that the end goal, right? When I say I support the black people putting their blackness first, it's to reach an end goal to defeat white supremacy, not to get us back to a segregated society. You know what I'm saying? It's like the end goal is for people to get up, to unite, and then to meet. Right? It's like this. It's this. And if that's utopian, if that's unrealistic, okay, that's fine. I mean, but I don't know that we're seeing that the intermingling with other cultures is not why marginalized people are marginalized. Let's put it that way. I'll just leave it at that. I want to have a good conversation with a good faith black separatist, not somebody wanted to just scare at me about the white devil. I want to have a conversation about that. But if black separatism is is not just a vehicle, but then the end goal, I'm like, I don't know about all that. No, I don't know. I can't. It's not connecting up here. You see what happened to Black Wall Street. Exactly. I mean, I'm looking at Black LA today. You look at who had a good talk about this. Check out FD Signifier's video on black capitalism. I watched the shit out of that, and he hit it. He fucking like he usually does, hit a home run where you look at places like Atlanta that have black institutions and black capitalism, and look at what's happening in with black poverty. Look at what's happening with policing black neighborhoods. And it doesn't change. It just creates a new class of people that become the new bourgeoisie, right? Like a black bourgeoisie is not better than a white bourgeoisie. You know what I'm saying? It's like a black dictator is not better than a white dictator. We want to undo the systems of oppression. Yeah. Yeah, globalization has made everyone dependent on someone else for their existence and destruction. To separate from that would just make you a lone target in the cross of capitalism. Yeah, 100%. I mean, you could just look at Cuba right now. You know, just look at Cuba, and you see what happens when you go, nah, I don't want to do that. We're doing our own thing. They'll be like, all right, bet.
Black Catholics are being murdered by other Black Africans in Nigeria right now.
Thank you. So let's talk about that.
But you haven't said anything about this. It's all about what's going on in the Blackness. You're assuming that we don't think about these things. I think about these things. I know. I'm highly aware of them. I'm highly sensitive. So it's not fair for you to say that just because we're Black Christians or we're Black American Christians or whatever, that we don't think about these things. We do. We might see things in a different way or a different, way.
Yeah, she puts her Christianity first. She doesn't care about the exploitation of Black and brown people globally in the global South. She cares about she cares about the bullshit her pastor sells her about Christians being persecuted in Muslim majority nations. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Solution, but it doesn't mean that we're not there. We don't think it's important.
I just feel as Black people in our community.
What did she say? Let me see.
No, I'm highly aware but you haven't said anything about this. It's all in Nigeria. Black Catholics are being murdered by other Black Africans in Nigeria right now.
Thank you. So let's talk about that.
But you have.
So do you know how many Black? Now you know where we're at. You know where we're at. You know what I love? I love this superpower I have. I love you could just always bring it back to your teacher. You could just tell me. It's like watching. You know what it's like? It's like in anime or kung fu movies where you watch somebody fight and they know who their sensei was by the way that person's fighting. And you could see it with the Candace Owens of the world. I already know when they're getting their information from white supremacy because they all have the same talking point and they haven't changed for the past 50 years since Reagan. And so you know what she's talking about? We got the All Lives Matter before, and we got the I Don't See Color before, right? And you know what she's doing now? She's doing boom, fucking sick thing. I took too long to get there, but you were in my head the whole time. This is Black on Black crime shit right here. Why are you not talking about the shootings in Chicago? If you're so pro-Black, why aren't you talking about the Black on Black crime in Chicago? This lady is pissing me off.
Haven't said anything about this. It's all about what's going on in the Blackness. You're assuming that we don't think about these things. I think about these things. I know. I'm highly aware of them. I'm highly sensitive. So it's not fair for you to say that just because we're Black Christians or we're Black American Christians or whatever, that we don't think about these things. We do. We might see things in a different way or a different, way of solution, but it doesn't mean that we're not there. We don't think it's important.
I just feel as Black people in our community, we put an overly emphasis on Jesus and on the church. And in a lot of poor Black communities.
I don't know if this is Jubilee's editing, but I feel like sometimes when people follow up with talking, they're not even it doesn't seem to follow what was just said. Like she did some Black on Black bullshit and Nigerians, Catholics getting killed and yada, yada, yada. And then he goes, I feel like that we have too much emphasis on Christ. I'm like, how does that follow in? And I honestly, I'm not even putting that on him. I really do think this is Jubilee editing right here. What's going on, RK Martin? Welcome. First time chat. RK Martin 4.
You'll see a bunch of churches, but you know what you won't see? You won't see a bank. You won't see a hospital. You won't even see a grocery store with good food. You go to a liquor store or something, there's an era behind the liquor store. There's people that don't look like us. These are issues that aren't even addressed by the church. It's like sometimes I feel I go to a church, they don't even care sometimes.
See, that was kind of weird too. And that's okay. That's okay. I think everybody's allowed to whatever. But the problem is that you live in a food desert, but you have 72 liquor stores. Do you really give a fuck if the guy's Arab or Black? You live in a food desert with 72 liquor stores and 172 churches. If all of the liquor stores were Black owned, you would still be in a problem, in a very, very systemic problem forced by white supremacy.
They just want more members, and as a person who grew up in the Black community and grew up in a
Blurred, what's going on? Hey, by the way, we deemed Wednesday Nerds of Culture Eve, so welcome. I'm glad you were able to make it on Nerds of Culture Eve, this special day of the week. Does she know that the gays are being persecuted in Uganda, right? Yeah, that's what. Did you know black gays are being persecuted in Uganda? Do you care about that? I didn't hear you say anything about that. There was a straight male that is fixing to be persecuted where they assumed he was gay. She's very Candace Owens. I wish I was going to give her the Kim Klasick vibes, but she surpassed that. That's what I'm saying. Have your comments been disabled? No, not at all. Have you been saying stuff? If I missed it, I apologize. Reverend, like evil is evil without the black community. She needs to holler at Neely Fuller. Yeah, I'm seeing it. Yeah, we're good. Can you hear me? Are we good? We need to schedule the stream. Yeah, true.
A black church, I understood these problems even when I was young.
I mean, I already tossed my thumbnail into the ring, I know we're not gonna use it, but I think I'm gonna show the one I made on stream anyway. It might get a from y'all. Just saying. It might be that way. I apologize ahead of time. So every week Chris was a no. I mean, it was my thumbnail, so you're the tiebreaker on this one. It's also your channel, so I always say, Blur, you got the 34% on the votes. But I'm gonna show them the thumbnail anyway after this video. Also, Dr. Midnight has some fan art he put in the art channel. I'm gonna show here in after this video too.
So these are problems that us as black people need to come together and.
Okay, so it looks like they're doing this like interesting topic. Okay, interesting topic. Okay, so the next topic is I've considered exploring other religions or living the church. I really don't give a fuck if what other religions they've considered. It's not interesting to me. But the one after that is Christianity is inherently racist. And I'm just going to go ahead and make the command decision now. We're going to skip this one. All right.
Figure out and stop building so many churches in our communities. How many Ebenezer Baptist churches are there?
Right.
You know what
And
I'm
you're
saying?
right,
We don't
because
need that.
We need, if we're going to walk as Christians and have the black church, we should be helping the poor, we should be helping the orphans, we should be helping the widow, we should be helping the single mothers, we should be helping the disenfranchised, and that is a part of Christianity. And the fact that that is not happening, I totally agree that is a problem. So we are absolutely on the same page about that.
I have considered exploring other religions or leaving the church.
I don't give a shit. How about that?
Wrong. Christianity is inherently racist.
All right. Christianity is inherently racist. Words have meanings. And why did the music come on? Like I'm about to do some welcome. Today's question. We're asking, is Christianity inherently racist? My name is Robo, and this is Left Face TV. This is the Smooth Storm. Okay, all right. No, this is the one. This is the one. Large bit. All right, there we go. No. I think that white supremacy, right, in the history of the United States of America, obviously, in the history of colonialism, right, with regard to Europeans coming to the New World, that vehicle of control and indoctrination and stripping people of their culture and their language and their religion, right? Absolutely, Christianity was a vehicle for that. But I think Christianity is no different. Here we go. Here's a hot take for you. Christianity is no different a vehicle than any other religion out there, and that is a vehicle for control. That's exactly what it is. It's a vehicle for control. And I know people like to do the I have faith, I don't have religion, or yada yada yada. Whatever words you guys want to use to like honestly, without, I'm not trying to sound disrespectful. Maybe it is disrespectful, but it's, it to me, it sounds like cope, right? It's like, oh, whatever it's your faith or whatever, you don't have that faith without the institution of religion teaching you about that faith. That's all it is. And really, it's in ancient Israel, right, with the kingdoms of Judah and Israel, or whatever they were called, that religion was Judaism, and that's what was used to control that area, right? And then you had the Roman religions and the different churches, and then Constantine adopted Christianity, and Christianity became the mode. I would not say Christianity is inherently racist. It's just that's basically the vehicle now.
I look at it from a legal perspective as Christianity, as it was built into law in the United States to classify the enslaved captives that came over, that were brought over, transported over from the continent of Africa, and used to justify the enslavement as well as the mistreatment of darker skinned.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of miss this. I miss those shows. Like, we got one question here. My wife wants to, play The Simpsons really loud and can't seem to climax without The Simpsons playing in the background. Should I be worried?
People using the curse of Ham that is in the Bible, even though the description of Jesus himself was not white as is depicted in popular culture. But the Christianity as we know it today and the distinct differences between certain non-black people and black.
Good night, Cypher. Thanks for the lurk. I appreciate you.
Black folks and other people of color, and the conditions of our community certainly imply that it is racist.
Even within the Old Testament, you're looking at these different groups of people, different tribes going to war with one another, and even, saying that my God wants you to be completely snuffed out. So yeah, it's always been wielded in a way that's been inherently racist.
Okay, but again, words have meaning, so she's not wrong there. But I would say that religion is inherently bigoted or inherently xenophobic or inherently, prejudiced against other religions because their religion, et cetera, et cetera. And even then, but Christianity being inherently racist, well, again, racist is kind of a new term. And no, ancient biblical times did not see Judaism as a racist deal because that wasn't a thing then.
I think this is an interesting point because I do agree in many ways, not that Christianity is inherently racist, but that it was used in very racist ways to suppress people and oppress people and enslave people. So I absolutely do agree with that. And I think that another narrative, slavery in the Atlantic slave trade also gets very sticky because you also had African slaves and tribes who were betraying their own people to give them away to these colonizers and more. So, I mean, it's like there's so much murkiness in that entire conversation that it's like one side over the other, who's the lesser of two evils kind of thing, right? Those who are enslaving plus those who sold their families to the slavery,
Well, there were a number of captives.
I'm about tired of this lady. I'm about sick and tired. Not just tired, but like whole ass COVID sick. 104-degree fever. Might have to go to the emergency room. Sick and tired.
Over the other, who's the lesser of two evils kind of thing, right? Those who are enslaving plus those who sold their families to the slavery,
Well, there were a number of captives that were kidnapped. So they weren't necessarily given over. Like you said, it does it does become a very, very
and
murky
that's
and
and
very
that's how
ugly history.
she's doing a good job, right? She's doing a good faith, like just like that other guy who said racist white people and black people of the church, right? Without having to say other shit. She's doing the very I'm nice, like, oh yeah, what you're doing is some white supremacy bullshit here, and let me just correct you very nicely. Like, yeah, I totally get what you're coming right away. They were actually forced to do that through the threat of death and conquest. But yeah, sure. Like, you guys want to talk about how Europe bought all these slaves. What about the black people that sold them? I am sick of this. I'm really trying not to cuss. I want to. I cannot stand this lady. The two original written books were Hebrew and Arabic. It's been more washed, where Ilah is God, Yeshua and Yahweh is Jesus. You don't see it in the King James version. If you say that, someone would think you're saying blasphemy.
Overall. And so I definitely agree that, but yes, the justification, especially through the Catholic Church, in one of the papal bulls, which actually endorsed the transatlantic slave trade.
Sure did.
That is historic. That is a fact.
Right.
And so we have to, we
Yeah, but I mean, the Catholic Church might have done that, but like the black people sold them. So like, are they any better? Like, it's really a product of their time type stuff. It's really, I don't really like getting too much into this because I don't see color. So I mean, I'm totally black. I'm black, but I also don't see color. So
cannot ignore that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good point, because even as Christians, regardless of our denominations, we have to look at the ugly parts and stand in it and admit it, and that these were wrong and this happened, not try to excuse it.
Right.
So I don't disagree with you on that.
Right.
There's some really ugly things that the Catholic Church certainly did, and I don't deny that. And the only thing that I would disagree on is the fact.
But you don't deny it. But this is the thing about Catholicism that I love. You ever go Google the papacy of the Pope? Papacy. The papacy of the Pope. The Pope is the cornerstone of the church, direct descendants, positionally from Peter, I think it is, the disciple Peter, who God said that was going to be the cornerstone of the church, and then Pope is supposed to be a direct connection to God. The Pope is completely and literally connected to God in the Holy Trinity in general, and yet you have popes who signed edicts saying that they support collecting slaves and sending them to the New World, who allowed priests and made it a thing that you could sell sins. If you donated enough money, I will absolve you of your sin. If you don't donate money, then I can't absolve you of your sin. Like, these are things that happen, and then you go, okay, yeah, that's different though. That's different. That was a bad pope. And there's a difference between. I think I've actually confronted them, and then they go, well, on terms of doctrine, they can't be wrong because they're directly connected to God. But if it's not in accordance with doctrine, then they can be wrong. I'm like, wow, isn't that convenient? Isn't that convenient? You know what I mean? Like, you would think that the person who's directly connected to God is not going to, be perfect in terms of the doctrine, but be also, whoops, I also had 17 kids by all these people that I would have sex with, and I'm completely consensual. I'm on my PC now. That phone shit is whack. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I don't know how people do it. The only time I'm ever on my phone watching Twitch is two things. Twitch drops or supporting the homies. And I'm probably lurking because I hate watching Twitch on my phone.
Listen, I'm going to get it on the internet. I know Jesus was not white, y'all. Okay, so you can't tell me my God is a white man. So inherently in what it is.
You know what, Midnight Monarchy, I'm actually going to agree with you on this. If I was a black Christian, if I want you to imagine, and this is what happens, by the way, man, does our boy, whatever was his name, Tyler, our boy Tyler spitting, because let me tell you something. Do you want to see? Thank you, Dr. Midnight. I appreciate that. Do you want to see explicit example of people who don't put their blackness first and to their own detriment? Look on the Christian side. If anybody wants to try to pretend like to be Christian is to be anti-black, has not been listening to the whole stream where we're talking about that's how black community existed in a world where they had no choice, right? Okay. Can you imagine being a proud pro-black Christian and having to sit next to this lady here? Can you imagine how infuriating that must be? So then I ask you, why has none of them stood up and said something? Why? You know what I mean? No lie, I don't get how black folks can be Christian, religious, love God for sure, but specifically Christian, nah, King, I'm with you. That's a whole different other conversation. I'm with you. But like Martin Luther King was Christian. Okay. I want you to imagine him sitting next to this lady. Can you imagine talking about but Africans sold the slaves too. So it's like who's to say who's really the worst here? I'm sitting here trying to defend being a powerful, proud, pro-black Christian, and we got Candace Owens over here stinking it up, and yet not one of them has said anything. You know why? Because they're putting their faith first. They're putting their religion first. And so they're going to let this anti-black Candace Owens copy, wish Candace Owens, say whatever she wants because she's on their side, so I can't say anything.
I don't see the racism in the original, but how it's been used, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, if you have a kernel of truth, and I don't know that we'll all even agree with what that kernel of truth is, and someone or something falls away from that truth, does it make the truth ineffective? Or does it make the falling away the most ineffective thing? Does that make sense? In other words, if there is a God, and I believe there is, but if there is a God and someone distorts that understanding or concept of God, does it make the God ineffective, or does it make what they've done in falling away from that kernel of truth?
There's a very simple way that this...
It makes your God impotent. That's what it means. It makes your God impotent. If I was a omnipotent creator of the universe, and if you understand how vast and enormous and old the universe is, and I was the most powerful being you can't even imagine how powerful I am. Black holes exist, and I am outside of that. And then I take these groups of primates and I give them the word and I give them the ability to think like Homo sapiens do. And yet, my word is able to be twisted. I am an all-powerful being, and people can just change the words up. Come on now. Come on. Midnight Monarchy, thanks for the gifted tier 1 sub to Cluminati. Saving Cluminati from the ad hell that is Twitter. Appreciate you. Appreciate that a lot. Yeah, that's what that means. That's what that means. Like, hey, yeah, the reason why nobody gets it right is because man is messed up. Like, sounds like your God is not very powerful if he just let shit get twisted up like that.
Could be resolved, right? If there is any type of God, right? It could very much be cleared up by them appearing and dispelling all of these discourses, all of these different beliefs, all of these different it could possibly end the conversation, or it could end all of this discourse right here.
They're gonna get into, maybe, I don't know what they're gonna say after this. I haven't seen this part. They're gonna get into the idea that that faith is the most powerful thing, and then if he showed up, then that means that you were told and you didn't have faith for it. But that's a difference that he made up. Like, why, one thing that stuck with me. I heard something many years ago on my journey out of Christianity. Somebody said something super interesting, and I've repeated it a lot. And it said, "Hey, look, and their point in asking the question I'm about to say is that nothing can change my mind. You just are gonna disbelieve because you want to disbelieve, right? So, but the question is, what is it? What would you need to believe in God? Like, what could happen to you that would make you a Christian?" And my answer is, because I stole this, I didn't make it up myself, but it's damn good. I said, I don't know, but an all-knowing God would know. God knows what the thing is that would change my mind. And if he's real and all-knowing and knows what that thing is, then he's choosing to not do it. And if I go to hell, well, then it's because he didn't do the thing I needed to believe.
I disagree because we believe that he already did that.
Yeah, it's really common too in the Old Testament.
We already believe that, and they killed him. So it's like
because of that.
Yeah,
and I agree. There's a lot of
No, they didn't kill him because of that. They killed him because that was the plan since the beginning of existence. They killed him because that is, in their story, that's the plan from the get-go, that it had to go down like this. So no. Imagine putting all your faith in a God that would just watch you fuck up and do nothing about it. I'm saying.
of evidence that shows in that. I mean, you guys were talking about evidence earlier, and there's evidence in the Old Testament how the angel of the Lord had come in, how he had transformed Saul's life into Paul. There's a lot of evidence in seeing the bush burning on.
You can't use the thing you're doubting to prove itself. You know what I mean? Like, I sit here and I'll write down on a piece of paper that Brobo is the most successful YouTuber in all of the history of YouTube, right? And when you ask for proof of that, because you're looking for evidence of that, and it doesn't seem to jive, that does not seem to comport with reality. And I say, you just have to believe, and you'll know, and then you'll be an actual beta. And if you're not, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, well, do you have some kind of proof? Yeah, I do. Here you go. It's on this sheet of paper right here. It says Robo is the most successful, the biggest YouTuber in all the history of YouTube. And I don't understand. It says it right there. That's what she does. That's what every person who points to the Bible is doing. Like, actually, there were lots of people who saw his resurrection. Look in Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Look at all these people that are witnesses. How do I know the Bible is true? Well, if you turn to Corinthians, it'll tell you. It's like what?
Fire, Moses, speaking to Moses. And so there is a lot of in that belief of understanding where Christ has come from and revealed himself through Old Testament.
The Bible is a book that does not have footnotes. It does not have points of reference,
citations,
which means that it is a book of allegory. It is a book of stories. It is a book of things that cannot necessarily be replicated today. You can't see this. No one can talk through a burning bush today. If that could be replicated today, then maybe we could see validity in that.
Well, maybe if you had some DMT, which kind of leads into a lot of my own personal belief system, because I don't actually identify as atheist. I'm probably more agnostic than anything. And in recent years, I've come into a lot of African spirituality by way of Ifa, which a lot of people in West Africa would practice some form of Ifa. It gets, translated through the slave trade as Santeria in Cuba. It's showing up in hoodoo and voodoo throughout,
which the church
South.
deemed as witchcraft.
Exactly, which it does have.
Dang, it's almost like we were just talking about that stuff.
elements of that when you get into it, but it's misconstrued, and that lens of Christianity being put on those things has given it a lot of negative connotation when we really did that to have survival and a way to still connect to our culture. And a lot of it still was able to survive through sharing that belief system.
Look, listen, I know some of y'all did say I'm agnostic and spiritual and all that, right? I'm gonna say something, and I hope I don't see the numbers go down. I love you all. Don't go anywhere. Somebody got to speak truth to y'all. The fact that there are so many people that are on the like, hey, look, I reject Christianity. I'm like, dope, good news. But the fact that some of y'all are like still clinging to like I still think there's like some like, you know, supernatural shit or a higher power, or I just don't know what it is. That is still part of actually I'll say I'll be in my opinion. Right? I'm not saying anything fact based or anything. I could pull up a paper. It is in my opinion. It is part of that indoctrination, and it sounds similar to what I went through. And in my journey towards why do I believe any of it, then I was at a point where I said, and this point didn't last. This was the shortest phase of my Christianity, the very shortest phase, because I would very shortly, but you know, literally months, maybe like a couple months, shortly move and go, this is stupid. And it was realizing the Bible's full of shit, realizing that the Bible is inerrant, realizing that these are stories way too similar to other indigenous stories. You know, looking at you know, Jesus as a Moses figure, Moses being a ancient superhero type figure as far as mythology goes. And then going, you know what? A dude living in a whale for 3 days, the earth being created in 7 days, a guy who has super strength because he let his hair get long, lost it because he fell for some lady, and then he let it grow back again, and then he used it to topple a temple on top of himself. Like, these are silly stories. Like, we laugh at the world sitting on top of a turtle, but then we believe that there was a guy who killed literally 1,000 people in a war with a donkey's jawbone. Like, you know what I mean? It's like and we're comic book fans here. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, right? And then I go, hey, look, this is all silly, but I still believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Maybe the Bible's wrong, but Jesus is Lord and Savior. And then the very next step for me in those short months was like, I only think that Jesus is my Lord and Savior because of the book that I've already decided is full of crap, right? And so I would ask, this is just a challenge, is that why, if you are spiritual, right, if you believe in the supernatural and all that, why do you reject Christianity, right? And is it because of evidence? Is it because of stuff like that? And then ask yourself, well, why, if I don't have a good reason to believe, you know, Christ is king and all that stuff, why do I believe any of that? So I would ask an African spiritualist the same thing. You know what I mean? Like why do we believe in these higher powers if we don't have any evidence for any of it? You know what I mean? And so when people say agnostic, when I say agnostic, I'd say, you know, it's just a means for me to say that I could not know if something is, you know, if there's a God out there or not. But I'm okay with the default position saying no, there's not, right? And quick analogy, and then we'll get back to the video because it's almost over. And I think it was maybe it was Dawkins. I'm not sure who did this one, but it's the teacup, right? So I want you to imagine that a teacup, right, off the International Space Station or whatever, that teacup is floating out in space somewhere, right? Can't be picked up by satellites. You'll never know if it's there or not. But and if I told you, hey, that teacup is orbiting the sun right now, you might say, okay, I guess, like, it's possible. Like, why do you think that? And like, nah, I just know. I know there's a teacup floating in space right now. Was there news that they threw a teacup into space like Elon Musk's Tesla? What do you have to go off of this teacup out there? I don't have anything. I just know. And then the person goes, all right, well, that's nice. And then I asked them, do you believe there's a teacup out there? And the person goes, no, you haven't given me anything to believe there's a teacup out there. And I'm like, are you saying it's not possible for there to be a teacup out there? Like, well, of course it's possible. Teacups exist. Maybe somebody got out there somehow. I just don't know if there is or not. And so why would you disbelieve it then? And you had this like circular logic, right? That's me in religion, 100%. Like, is there some God out there? Sure, maybe. I don't know, right? I don't have any reason to think there is, though, right? And that's the point where I kind of like, I'm happier to hear people say that they're, spiritualists or over Christianity. But there is a kind of conversation that, in my head, I'm like, all right, dope. Christianity is garbage, so that's dope. But why spirituality? I kind of want to go like, okay. Well, let's keep talking though. I want to hear why you believe that your ancestors or whatever or the earth is helping you out. Anyways, all right. Sorry, I missed the chat. I was deep in monologue. Yeah, Illuminati is in the fold. I'm gonna end this whole debate. So y'all gonna uphold religion of the folks who enslaved your ancestors? Cool. No. You missed it though. Ethiopian Christians are some of the original Christians. That giant country of Ethiopia that takes up most of Africa. The millions and millions and millions, hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of African Christians. Look, they have to bring up Ethiopia because they know damn well Christianity wasn't anywhere else on that continent.
Can I say something real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Liberian. So like my parents, they're from Liberia. They're African, and I grew up with a lot of Nigerians as well from the Igbo tribe. And I see, and I don't know, are you Black American as well? Like, okay, cool. So I see this trend of people coming into African spirituality as if to say that that's something that even people in West Africa like believe in. But if you interact with those people, like the African people,
the Ethiopians got it in much the same way that the Greeks got it. That original, like according to their history, like the religion. I mean, this is obvious, right? The religion of Christianity is obviously a thing, and it started somewhere, and we're pretty sure that it started in ancient Israel. During around the time that the Bible kind of says it does, right? Because there are some excerpts that reference Christianity loosely, even extra biblical texts that kind of reference Christianity. And in that time, apparently, it got to some Ethiopians, and so we have some ancient. There's a church in Ethiopia that's like 1600 years old or some shit like that. But yeah, I mean, if we're not talking about like the Romans, the Greeks, ancient Israel, Ethiopia, yeah, if you are a Black American and your ancestors came here by the worst fucking boat trip in the existence of boat trips, then you probably weren't fucking related to the ancient Ethiopian Christians.
people that are over here now.
Yeah, they probably
like
don't.
they don't. In
Yeah,
fact,
they
they also see it as a lot of them
the teacup in the sky.
also see it as witchcraft.
Because they've also been colonized.
No, well, see, that's another thing, right? If we're gonna talk about colonization, then we can't take away those Black Africans' freedom to also choose a religion for themselves.
No, they can totally choose for themselves. That's
yeah, so like
we can't take away their freedom to choose a religion for themselves, because that's exactly what fucking happened, guy. What the fuck? literally the freedom to choose your own religion was taken away from them. They were murdered. Their children were physically taken away from them. And then while they were children, still shitting themselves, raised by other people in the church. And that person would have no fucking clue that they knew anything else. You weren't allowed to speak your language. You weren't allowed to practice religion. And if you did, you were fucking dead. So the only way to survive was to become Christian. And even then, we talk about Christianity as a method of survival. Again, please don't forget the way that they would kidnap kids and raise them in the church. That wasn't survival. That was a kid who just didn't fucking know. And they're still doing it today. You all, not you all, but Christians are still, to this day, raising little brainless infants and who will never know anything else besides Christianity until the dreaded day that's so fucking scary to Christians that they have to go to public school and interact with people from other cultures. This fucking idiot.
So to say that they're colonized and that's why they believe what they believe, I feel like you're looking down on their ability to choose and understand right and wrong for themselves.
But it's just
And I
a
kinda find
fact
that
that they
offensive.
were
Just a little
colonized, specifically Nigeria, because the majority of what I know about myself, my people did come from Nigeria.
Man, Klubenati, let me tell you. Let me tell you. I just learned this shit. And this is why I got a window right here, and now I'm nervous that, let me lower my voice a little bit. My neighbor across the street is Sudanese. And let me tell you that when I moved to Georgia and I saw the amount of black people in my neighborhood, I was like, fucking dope. I was afraid I was going to be like, because this is kind of a newish neighborhood, And I was like, man, don't let this fucking VA housing privilege put me in this fucking neighborhood with all these white supremacists. I saw quite a few black people in this neighborhood. I said, okay, bet. My neighbor across the street, black. I go and I meet him. He is from Sudan. And he doesn't say he's black. As a matter of fact, we had a conversation, and this is the problem with being Hispanic and military, is that people just assume that you're conservative. And he starts talking about black people in Savannah and the gay couple down the street that decided to fly a gay flag. And I'm like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. And he saw I wasn't really on power, and then he tried to change the subject real fast. But man, I'll tell you, these North African dudes are built different. You are absolutely right. I'm no black. I'm Dominican. I'm no black. I'm Ethiopian. I'm Sudanese. Like what?
That was colonized by the British.
So how you have the ability to look at your beliefs, and even if colonization had some type of oppressive thing on you, you still have the ability to choose whether or not that you believe in that. So do the Africans that are over there. They have the ability to look at their colonization, figure out what parts of their culture are disconnected from their religion, and they can still celebrate it. I want to go a little bit into my personal story because I know I'm going to rant a little bit, but I grew up in a African Liberian Pentecostal church in Minnesota. And over there, there's so much culture. Not even a drip of it. Did I even understand that there was whiteness involved, we have the same food. We sing our Christian songs in a different way than white churches do. Even sometimes when I went to different white churches, I would be confused as to why they're not singing it the way that we're singing it. And
I know it's awesome. It's awesome the way that the French came into Liberia and slaughtered and committed a genocide in Liberia and didn't let them practice their religion. And it's beautiful. It's actually a beautiful, beautiful thing, the way that there's Liberian Christian churches and in the way that the French wait, did I say genocide? I'm sorry. I meant kindly spreading the word of Jesus Christ in Liberia is just it really kind of touches my heart. And the way that you can see Liberian culture in the way that we practice this religion that was forced on us through threat of genocide is just beautiful. It's beautiful. It's heartwarming, actually.
So to say that like Christianity is this thing that deletes culture at its roots, I completely disagree with that because that's where I grew up in.
Genocide is
Black atheists have a
slow.
response to that.
Well, there are different, I mean, that's similar to how the black church is here in the United States, right? The Catholic Church probably does not do as much singing as like maybe a Baptist.
We've
You
got
do some- okay,
gospel
well,
masses out here
Okay.
in LA.
But okay, well that's interesting to know. But there are definitely some cultural differences in the way Black folks practice, and part of that is due to the racism because Black folks weren't allowed in certain white churches. What we don't understand about like white supremacy and colonization, that at times it's mental.
Yeah.
It can be mental. So even if it isn't overtly someone physically oppressing you, when we talk about the institutional practices, it means that it is ingrained into your mentality.
Let me give a quick correction. I had a little voice in my head that was like, double check that. I was confusing Liberia for Lebanon. All right. But still really same difference considering when you look at the history of Liberia and how it was a project by the United States to send Black people away. And what did those Black people end up doing to the indigenous people there? That's why, wow, talk about full circle. When we talk about old dude who's been cooking 99% of the time, honestly, I'm not gonna shit on him for this one bad take. But look what happens when when you focus on having Black institutions, which is important, but you don't take away the real cancer of it. Liberians that came from that left the United States to go to this new country, that was very Israel-like, considering that there was already indigenous people there. And what did the Black Americans do? They did the same thing. They did the same thing because we never really got to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is not skin color. That's the thing.
That it doesn't matter who it is. Even in your Pentecostal practice, if you are still worshiping Jesus, and there are a lot of evangelical, like even on the continent now, where they are still putting white Jesus. I think in Ghana, there is a huge statue of white Jesus. So even if it is a predominantly Black practice, it is still sort of rooted in a Eurocentric and white mentality, and we have to think about that.
Yeah,
I think that's a response to the prompt.
So I was going to ask, like, what carryovers, and I'm actually very curious about this, what carryovers do you see from white colonization that you see in African practices today, other than white Jesus? Because we can look at white Jesus and be like,
the religion, the fact that the people who practiced a different religion were genocided, and now you practice Christianity. What evidence of white colonization do you have in African practice of Christianity? The existence and practice of Christianity. I don't care what language you say it in now. I don't care the style of music you practice it in now. The existence of Christianity is that evidence of white colonization.
I can even agree that we should probably put up less white Jesuses up in churches, up in Black churches, up in African churches. But separate from that,
why would it be just there, considering he was born in the Levant in the Middle East? Like, wouldn't you want it everywhere?
What do you think is being deleted from our culture and our cultural expression of Christianity by adopting that into our belief system?
So it's the way we treat women.
Exactly.
It's the way we treat children.
Yeah.
It is the way that inherently we still don't stick together as well as we should. These are things that are holdovers from colonization, from enslavement that has been used to divide and conquer us. The way we...
A fun fact, not that we're talking equality here. We're not pretending that there was a utopia, but in ancient Egypt during the times of pharaohs, women were able to be nobles on par with men. Women could be nobles. Women could own land. Women could be educated. They had female scientists, female business owners. female elite members. To be a woman wasn't to automatically be property in the way we see with Christianity and Islam and Jewish Judaism. Sorry, brain fart.
Still other each other in a lot of ways. The one thing that we hear as atheists is that we're trying to be white.
Yeah.
We hear that, well, you're rejecting your blackness as an atheist, which is the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah.
It is my blackness that defines my atheism.
Yes.
You know, it is because I care.
Man, clip it. That's a short right there. That is what's up. I like that a lot.
About black folks and the black community. No, and even in our diversity, that makes that has defined or that has determined my conclusion.
I'll just say that, like, sometimes we conflate like general human nature, and I don't mean to disregard everything that you're saying, because I still think tribalism exists outside of Christianity. I still think misogyny exists outside of Christianity. I think racism exists outside.
You're missing it. You're missing it, homie. She said none of that. She said none of that. Abrahamic religions treat children and women as property, and many indigenous cultures did not do that. Did they have other problems? Of course they had other problems, but it did not come with an inherent devaluing of women and children in the way Abrahamic religions did. Women and children were bartered, sold. When you look at the ancient Levitical law on what the penalty was for when women are raped or abused, they were in categorically in the same section as property, right? So when we see these religions and how they propagate, the indigenous African and the indigenous tribes of the Americas did not practice that in the same way. Does that mean everything was perfect? Did that mean that there was no gender disparity? Does that mean that there weren't other atrocities that happened? Sure, but you're trying to make it sound like this is that all or nothing thing that people with this sort of thinking, like, I have to be right because God is all good, God is all perfect, and this has to be the way. Well, bro, nobody's saying there's a utopia, but what you think is that your religion brings like this utopian, like, Christ-like love, and you don't like seeing the evidence outside of it. You know what I mean? That is unfortunate to see, because we're not even talking about Roxy. We're talking about, like, this kid coming from a Liberian background, as troubling as the Liberian history is, I feel you could reach. This dude is too damn old and looks exactly like my uncle, which just makes me like I love my uncle, but like, no one's trying to talk. I'm not talking to him about shit. He's gonna die exactly thinking what he's thinking. Changing his mind would be something's wrong. Like, if he ever changed his mind on anything, he has dementia. Like, I would be oh man, you got to get him to the doctor. He has dementia. And then Roxy, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be super stereotypical right now. Maybe this is problematic, what I'm about to say. Super surprised she has locks at all. I'm surprised there's any color in her shirt. I wouldn't be surprised if she did her hair like that recently, knowing for the she was about to come on the show. Maybe, I don't know. Super problematic for a non-black person to try to pull any black person's card. Sorry, I'll give my apology speech later. But yeah, we know she's Clandis Owens. But man, what was the name of the one that just stays cooking, the lady here with the shining carpet dress?
Side of Christianity and all of these other things. So,
because I want to hear more of her. This is the face of somebody who's done lectures at colleges. She writes books. I need to be taught. Mandisa Thomas, I need to be taught. I need to be taken under her wing. I like her a lot.
A lot of the times what you're seeing is general human nature coming atop a belief system that preaches love, and it dilutes it, because that's who we are as humans. We're going to take something that's meant for love, and we're going to take something that's meant for unity, not uniformity, and we're going to use that to destroy like our relationships with other people. But the reason why I call myself a Christian is because I can look at a standard that's much higher than myself to say, hey, even though I have a lot of these differences with other people, we're all the same under God.
Let's move on to closing statements.
For me, remain curious, ask questions, do your own research. We should be creating things that we want to see out in
I hate that phrase so much. Do your own research. Stop it. Stop it.
the world, ways that we want to replicate goodness, love, charity, taking care of one another. So ultimately, that's what's most important. And why we always got to make God a he, like.
I love the conversation. I love the individuality. I love the commitment to it. I don't have a heaven or hell to put anyone in. I have a personal relationship, and I throw it out and I share it, and hopefully it makes it.
But your God does, though. Not only does your God have a heaven or hell to put people in, he knew who was going to go there before they were even born, and he let them be born anyway. Just saying.
Difference for the other person, and if it doesn't, he's given them the right to not choose it. As we discover who we are as Black people, as we discover who we are as people, as we probe into the divine, whether or not it's the universe, whether or not it's some other form of spirituality, that being open to the revelation that I am bigger, I am better, and eternal life is mine, whether or not that is the reincarnation or whether or not that is in living with him eternally. So
I think that everyone here has beautiful backgrounds and they all gave beautiful stories, you know, and my final thought is just that.
Is that me? Part of me wants to be like, fuck you, man. But then I'm like, no, yeah. He looks like we're related. We're related. Just even the way we carry our weight. Yeah, we're related. But fuck you anyway, though. That's fucked up. But you right.
Eternal life is mine, whether or not that is the reincarnation or whether or not that is in living with him eternally. So
even got the hair. Yeah. Yeah, I know Black Papi.
I think that everyone here has beautiful backgrounds and they all gave beautiful stories.
Hey, just for the record, just for the record, you know, when I say I'm not Black, it's not because of anti-Blackness. It's because I'm not trying to like perpetrate. You know what I'm saying? I am 24% African though, according to you know. But I'm Puerto Rican. Like anything less than 20% would be sus anyway. I'll be like, this thing's broke.
Stories, you know, and my final thought is just that when it does come to Black Christians with the historical value of the Black church, I do believe that it is inherent for Black Christians.
Oh shit.
To dedicate a portion of themselves to the Black power struggle and the Black movement. And that is my final thought.
My brother, thank you.
All right. Look, all that shit I talk about Jubilee, honestly, that had to have been the most entertaining. The questions, the prompts, I like that a lot. Usually I'll watch the Jubilee and I'll be like, this is whack. When they talked about trans issues, whack. When it was liberals versus conservatives with Destiny on the liberal side. I mean, accurate, but I'm talking about how like the bigger America looks at the word liberal. So he's supposed to be representing the left and it's like whack. Jubilee's usually whack, but this was a really, really good one. So you got to give him props for that one. Because I'm trying to keep things between 2.5 hours, and we're already also almost at 3. We're gonna do like we did yesterday, and we're just gonna kick that can down the road. The updates on Israel we're gonna talk about on Friday, because it is Nerds of Culture Eve. It is Nerds of Culture Eve, so tomorrow's Nerds of Culture over on the YouTube channel. Blurred Without Fear, which I am just going to go on a limb and say everybody here is a part of that community. If you're not a part of that community by some crazy coincidence, then make sure you head over to youtube.com. Let's see, Blurred Without Fear. head over there. Make sure you follow, because go to the play. Well, first of all, see all of it. If you love comic books, you're going to love it. You got the Blurred Cave on Saturdays. But on Thursdays, your boy does a show with Blur Without Fear and Cypher, Just Cure Cypher, called Nerds of Culture, where it's, nerd shit, but with a political leaning, right? We're not afraid of talking about the social shit or the deep shit. Recently, Ed, what's his name? Pilsker, is a pretty prominent comic book artist, and Pisker is a pretty prominent comic book artist who received some allegations. We talked about that sexual misconduct, right? Grooming allegations, and we talked about that last week. In the time that we talked about it to the show tomorrow, Ed Pisker has passed away and seemingly took his own life. Not saying we had anything to do with it. There were bigger news channels that went into it, but we're gonna talk about that tomorrow. I'm not gonna speak for anybody else, but hold on, let me see. Ed Pisker, yeah. Just to give a there you go. Yeah, I let Blur speak for himself. I will speak for myself. Because every week, we gotta do the thumbnail and stuff like that, right? And so I threw my idea in, like, hey, is this a thumbnail we want to use? And here, let's do this. I laugh, but I'm just gonna warn y'all. Some of y'all might not laugh. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and apologize ahead of time. Okay. What do y'all think? Is it too deep? When I sent it, I was like, maybe, I don't know. It might be a little bit too heavy, considering like usually this meme is used like in like the consequences of my actions. But the fact that Ed Pisker actually killed himself, this one might be a little bit out of bounds. A little bit out of bounds. And I think Blurred feels the same way. Chris super feels the same way. Chris, just so y'all know, just to make sure that, nobody catches any slack, just in case nobody catches too much slack, I made this. If anybody wants to get angry, be angry at me. And also Just Chris Cypher straight up voted no. He's like, I don't think we should use that. Right. So if you guys need a good guy, Just Chris Cypher is your good guy. All right. So, probably won't use it, but that is really, it isn't really to make anybody laugh. It's more to like, here's what my thoughts are on it. Sorry the dude's dead, but I mean, what happened. I don't know what to tell you. You know what I'm saying? Other people might take issue. Yeah, you're right. He's the best of us. Yeah. Chris is a good soul. The party continues tomorrow. To all of our new members, Blur Without Fear is awesome. If you haven't already been able to tell, the show is tomorrow is going to be great. Hell yeah. I took my one day off on Monday. So Nerds of Culture will be tomorrow on Blurred Without Fear's channel. So make sure you go there. Don't come here looking for that. And then on Friday, we'll be back right here around 7:30, 8 o'clock. With that, I love you all. Don't forget to take care of yourself and take care of each other. And ask yourself, do you believe there's a teacup floating out there? If you don't, what else do you believe without evidence? You know what I'm saying? Take care. I love you all and see you all tomorrow on Nerds of Culture.